Strange stars and stranger powers. Space folds differently when reality tears. The USS Voyager had encountered countless anomalies during her 7-year journey through the Delta Quadrant: spatial rifts, quantum singularities, trans-warp conduits that defied conventional physics. But nothing in Captain Catherine Janeway's experience, nothing in Starfleet's extensive records, had prepared her crew for the moment when the fabric of their universe simply shattered. "Captain, the subspace corridor is destabilizing." Harry Kim's voice cut through the bridge's controlled chaos, his instruments screaming warnings in colors that shouldn't exist. "I'm reading energy signatures that don't correspond to any known particle interaction." Janeway gripped her command chair as Voyager bucked like a living thing, the view screen displaying impossible geometries, stars folding into themselves, space flowing like liquid, and something else, something that registered on their sensors as pure intention given form. Her tactical officer's Vulcan composure cracked just enough to reveal genuine alarm. "Captain, I am detecting what can only be described as organized consciousness in the anomaly itself," Tuvok reported, his dark eyes fixed on readings that violated every principle of Vulcan science. "It is aware of us." "Bridge to engineering," Janeway commanded, fighting to keep her voice steady as the ship's inertial dampeners struggled against forces that treated physics as mere suggestion. "B'Elanna, I need options." The half-Klingon chief engineer's response crackled with static and frustration. "Working on it, Captain. The warp core is stable. But whatever we're passing through is interacting with our antimatter containment in ways I've never..." Her words cut off as Voyager lurched violently, throwing crew members against their stations. 7 of 9, the ship's Borg-enhanced astrometrics officer, stood rigid at her console, her ocular implant flickering as she processed data streams that would overwhelm human perception. "Captain, I am detecting traces of an energy field that appears to permeate all matter in the region we are entering. It is organic in nature, yet encompasses entire star systems. The Borg encountered something similar in species 10026's space, but this is far more extensive." Explanation 7? Unknown. However, my Borg implants are registering it as both matter and consciousness simultaneously. No, it is interfering with our navigational sensors in ways that suggest intelligence rather than random quantum fluctuation. Tom Paris, hands dancing across the helm controls, with practiced precision shot a glance over his shoulder. "Captain, I hate to add to our problems, but I'm losing helm control. Whatever's out there, it's pulling us towards specific coordinates. It's almost like the universe inverted." That was the only way Janeway could describe it afterward. For one infinite, impossible moment, every member of Voyager's crew felt themselves existing in 2 realities simultaneously, felt the comfortable known laws of their Federation universe, and something else, something ancient and vast that sang with voices that had been speaking since before Earth's sun ignited. Then reality reassembled itself. Now, and Voyager tumbled into normal space with all the grace of a meteor strike. "Damage report," Janeway demanded, already knowing it would be extensive. "Hull breaches on decks 4 and 11, shields at 43%, warp drive offline," Tuvok rattled off with mechanical efficiency that belied the severity of their situation. "Casualty reports coming in from sickbay. The doctor is managing, but we have 17 injured." Chakotay, her first officer, and the calm center in every storm they'd weathered together, moved to her side. His voice was quiet, meant for her ears alone. "Catherine, take a look." The view screen had cleared, and what it showed made even Janeway's considerable composure waver. Stars, but not their stars. The constellations were wrong, utterly, completely wrong, in ways that went beyond simple displacement. They weren't in another quadrant. They weren't even in another galaxy. The stellar cartography was so alien that their navigational computer simply rejected the data as impossible. "Harry, where are we?" The young operations officer's hands trembled as he worked his console. "Captain, I don't know. None of the stars match our database. Not even close. It's like we're in a completely different..." He stopped, his face going pale. "Captain, I'm picking up warp signatures, multiple vessels, closing on our position fast." "Shields up, red alert," Janeway ordered, her command voice cutting through the uncertainty. "Tuvok, tactical analysis. Sensors detect 7 vessels of unknown configuration approaching at sublight speeds. Their propulsion systems are primitive compared to Federation standards. Fusion reactors rather than matter/antimatter reactions. However, their weapons signatures are unusual. They appear to utilize focused particle beams and projectile weapons of some kind." "They're hailing us," Kim reported, audio and visual. On screen, the view screen flickered to life, revealing a humanoid male in what appeared to be military armor of a style Voyager's database had no reference for. His expression was guarded but not hostile, the look of a soldier encountering something unexpected rather than an enemy. "Unknown vessel, you have entered Republic space. Identify yourself immediately and prepare to be boarded for inspection. We detected your emergence from hyperspace and your vessel configuration matches no known registry." Janeway exchanged a glance with Chakotay, who raised an eyebrow. Not exactly a warm welcome. She stood, smoothing her uniform, and faced the view screen with the diplomatic bearing that had gotten them through first contacts with dozens of species. "I am Captain Catherine Janeway of the Federation starship Voyager. We mean no harm to you or your Republic. Our presence here was accidental. We encountered a spatial anomaly and appear to have been transported far from our intended course." The officer's expression shifted from suspicion to confusion. "Federation? Starship? I'm unfamiliar with these designations, and your vessel's design..." He paused, consulting with someone off-screen. "Captain Janeway, I am Commander Tyrus of the Republic 3rd Fleet. Under normal circumstances, I would escort you to Coruscant for proper verification, but these are not normal times. We are at war, and your sudden appearance in a contested system requires immediate investigation." "War?" Janeway felt ice forming in her stomach. They'd jumped from one conflict to another. "Commander, perhaps we could discuss this diplomatically." "Captain," Tuvok's voice cut through with uncharacteristic urgency. "I am detecting a massive energy surge bearing 3-2 Mark 7, multiple vessels emerging from what appears to be an artificial wormhole." The view screen automatically split, showing the Republic commander on one side and the tactical situation on the other. Janeway watched as ships of radically different design tore into normal space, angular, predatory craft painted in deep reds and blacks that seemed to drink in the starlight. Commander Tyrus's face hardened. Sith warships, all Republic vessels, battle stations, unknown vessel. If you value your crew's lives, you will jump to hyperspace immediately and... "We don't have hyperspace capability," Chakotay interjected. "Commander, our technology is different. We use warp drive, not hyperspace." "Then you're dead," Tyrus said flatly. "Those ships will tear you apart. Get to the far side of the Republic formation. We'll try to provide cover, but..." The transmission cut off as the Sith vessels opened fire. Janeway had seen space battles before, against the Borg, against Species 8472, against countless hostile forces during Voyager's long journey home. But what unfolded before her was warfare on a scale that made those encounters seem like border skirmishes. The Republic ships moved in tight formations, their weapons, primitive by Federation standards but devastatingly effective, lancing out in brilliant green and blue bolts that impacted against the Sith vessel's shields in spectacular explosions. The Sith responded with crimson fire and what appeared to be missiles that twisted through space with an almost sentient awareness of their targets. "Evasive maneuvers, Tom," Janeway commanded as a volley of enemy fire arced toward Voyager's position. Paris's hands blurred across his console. "On it, Captain. These guys aren't used to multi-vector maneuvering. I can keep us clear of the main fighting, but..." An explosion rocked the ship as one of the Republic vessels took a direct hit, its hull fracturing in a chain reaction that sent debris spinning through the combat zone. Voyager's shields flared as the shockwave hit, and Janeway saw 3 escape pods ejecting from the dying ship. "Harry, get a transporter lock on those escape pods," she ordered without hesitation. "Beam the survivors directly to Cargo Bay 2. "Captain, we don't know if our transporters are compatible with their biology," Chakotay warned. "Then we're about to find out. Do it." As Kim worked to establish a lock, 7 of 9's voice cut through the chaos with clinical precision. "Captain, I recommend you observe Sector 47 of the battlefield." Janeway's eyes followed 7's direction, and what she saw defied every scientific principle she'd ever learned. 2 figures. Humanoid, she thought, though it was difficult to tell at this distance, stood in the void of space between 2 massive warships. One wore robes that seemed to glow with an inner light. The other was clad in armor as dark as the space around them. They weren't using weapons, weren't piloting fighters or operating any visible technology. They were fighting with pure energy. Light erupted from the robed figure's hands, crackling brilliant bolts of what appeared to be controlled electricity that the armored figure deflected with a blade of pure plasma held in their grip. The blade itself was impossible, a meter-long column of contained energy that cut through the hull plating of a nearby debris field like it was paper. "What the hell is that?" Paris breathed, his usual sardonic demeanor completely abandoned. 7's response was immediate and troubling. "I am detecting the same energy field that permeates this region of space, but concentrated in and around those 2 individuals. They are somehow manipulating it at will, converting it into kinetic force, electromagnetic radiation, and sustained plasma containment without any visible technological assistance." "That's impossible," B'Elanna's voice crackled over the comm. "You can't generate that kind of power from biological sources alone. They'd need..." "They are not generating it," 7 interrupted. "They are channeling it. The field exists independently. They are merely conducting it." Tuvok's instruments chirped urgently. "Captain, the Republic vessel closest to those 2 individuals is moving to provide support. However, the Sith warship is charging what appears to be a devastating weapon array focused on Captain. They are targeting the escape pods we just recovered survivors from." Janeway's decision was instantaneous. "Tom, put us between that ship and the pod's last known position. Tuvok, full phasers." "Captain, we have limited power reserves," Chakotay reminded her, "if we engage in this battle." "We don't have a choice, Chakotay. Tuvok, fire." Twin orange beams lanced out from Voyager's Type X phaser arrays, moving at the speed of light toward the Sith warship. The impact was immediate and spectacular. The Federation weapons, designed to disrupt matter at the molecular level, tore through the enemy vessel's shields like they weren't even there and carved deep gouges in its hull plating. The entire battlefield seemed to pause for a heartbeat. "Captain," Tuvok reported with a hint of satisfaction in his voice, "the Sith vessel has broken off its attack and is withdrawing. All hostile ships are retreating." Through the view screen, Janeway watched as the Sith warships disengaged, their formations collapsing into a fighting retreat that carried them back toward the artificial wormhole they'd emerged from. Within moments, they were gone, leaving the Republic fleet battered but victorious, and leaving every sensor in the Republic fleet focused directly on Voyager. Commander Tyrus's face reappeared on the view screen, his expression a mixture of shock, gratitude, and deep suspicion. "Captain Janeway, that weapon, I've never seen its like. The Sith vessel's shields didn't even slow it down. What kind of ship are you commanding?" "A ship that just helped save your people," Janeway replied carefully. "Commander, we need to talk. Clearly, we have much to learn about each other's capabilities and intentions." "Agreed. Captain, I'm transmitting coordinates to Coruscant, the Republic capital. You'll need to explain yourself to the Jedi Council. Given the power your vessel just displayed, they'll want to determine if you're a threat or—" He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. "Or if you're the advantage we've been praying for." As the transmission ended, Chakotay moved to Janeway's side, his voice low. "Catherine, we just involved ourselves in an alien war. The Prime Directive is 70,000 light-years and apparently an entire reality away." Janeway finished quietly. She looked at the stars that weren't theirs, at the debris of a battle in a war they knew nothing about, and felt the weight of command settle even more heavily on her shoulders. "We're alone here, Chakotay, completely alone, and we just announced our presence by demonstrating technology that apparently outclasses everything they've seen." 7 of 9 approached from her station, her expression as close to troubled as her Borg-enhanced features ever showed. "Captain, I have completed my analysis of the energy field that those individuals were manipulating. It is present in varying concentrations throughout all matter in this region of space, in the ships, in the stars, and in every member of their species we encountered. And, Captain, the Borg designation for this phenomenon was the Force. Species 10026 claimed it was the fundamental binding energy of their universe. They said it was both created by life and created life. They said it was—" 7 paused, as if the words troubled even her rational, scientific mind. "They said it was the will of the universe made manifest." Janeway looked out at the unfamiliar stars, at the ships of a republic fighting a war against something called the Sith, at a galaxy where people commanded lightning and wielded blades of plasma with their bare hands, where a mystical energy field connected all living things. They were so very far from home. "Helm, set course for these Coruscant coordinates," she ordered, her voice steady despite the uncertainty churning in her gut. "Warp factor 2, and someone get me everything we can compile about this Republic, this war, and this Force. We need to understand what we've gotten ourselves into." As Voyager's impulse engines engaged, carrying them toward a world of Jedi and politics and ancient conflicts, Janeway couldn't shake the feeling that the spatial anomaly that had brought them here wasn't random at all. The universe, or the Force, or whatever governed this strange reality, had plans for them. She just hoped her crew would survive long enough to find out what they were. If you want to see more characters enter the Star Wars galaxy, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character you'd want to see in the comments below. May the Force be with you. The Council's scrutiny, Coruscant was a monument to civilization's triumph over nature, an entire planet encased in durasteel and transparasteel, its surface buried beneath millennia of construction that reached toward the clouds in spires that defied gravity itself. From Voyager's bridge, the sight was simultaneously magnificent and troubling. Captain Janeway had seen many wonders during her years in the Delta Quadrant, but a planet-wide city suggested a civilization with resources and ambition on a scale that dwarfed the Federation. "Population readings are off the charts," Harry Kim reported, his voice tinged with awe. Captain, I'm detecting over 1 trillion sentient life signs. The entire planet is urbanized. There's not a single natural ecosystem remaining. Chakotay frowned at his own console. That's not sustainable. Not without technology we haven't detected yet. How are they managing waste recycling, atmospheric processing, food production for that many people? They appear to have sophisticated environmental systems integrated throughout the planetary infrastructure, 7 of 9 answered, her ocular implant scanning the data streams. However, their technological base is inconsistent. Advanced repulsor technology coexists with primitive computing systems, faster than light travel achieved through hyperspace, yet their medical technology appears centuries behind Federation standards. In some areas, Tuvok raised an eyebrow. Fascinating. A civilization that has achieved technological sophistication in specific fields while remaining underdeveloped in others. This suggests a non-linear technological evolution. Or outside intervention, Tom Paris muttered. Remember what those Republic officers said about the Jedi, about the Force? Maybe their tech developed differently because they could do things with space magic that we need warp cores and transporter buffers for. Janeway silenced the speculation with a raised hand as the comm system chimed. This is Coruscant Traffic Control to Federation Vessel Voyager. You are cleared for approach to the Jedi Temple landing platform. Coordinates being transmitted now. Be advised that a Jedi escort will meet you upon landing and you are expected to present yourself to the High Council immediately. Acknowledged Coruscant Control, Janeway responded smoothly. We'll comply with your instructions. As the channel closed, she turned to her first officer. Chakotay, you have the bridge. 7, Tuvok, you're with me. I want science and security perspectives when we meet these Jedi. Captain, perhaps I should accompany you as well. The doctor's voice interjected from sickbay over the comm. I've been analyzing the biological scans we took of the Republic soldiers we rescued. There are fascinating anomalies in their cellular structure, microscopic symbiotic organisms that appear to exist in every living cell. I believe they may be connected to this Force phenomenon. Bring your data, Janeway agreed. Transport to the transporter room. We'll beam down together. 30 minutes later, as Voyager settled onto the massive landing platform, with the smooth precision that made Tom Paris the finest pilot Janeway had ever served with. Now she stood in the transporter room reviewing the doctor's preliminary findings on a PADD. Midichlorians, she read aloud, microscopic organisms that exist symbiotically within the cells of all life in this galaxy. The doctor, are you suggesting these organisms are responsible for the Force abilities we witnessed? The doctor's holographic form shimmered with barely contained scientific enthusiasm. Not responsible for, Captain, but perhaps acting as intermediaries. My hypothesis is that these midichlorians allow individuals to interact with the energy field 7 detected. Think of them as biological transceivers. The more midichlorians present in an individual's cells, the stronger their connection to the Force. 7 of 9 processed this with her usual analytical directness. That would explain why only certain individuals demonstrated Force abilities during the battle. It is not a learned skill available to all, but a biological capacity limited to those with sufficient midichlorian concentrations. Tuvok's fingers steepled in a gesture Janeway recognized as his thinking pose. Captain, this raises a significant question. We are not native to this universe. Do we possess these midichlorians? I ran scans on all of us, the doctor confirmed. We do not. Whatever process creates or sustains midichlorians in this galaxy's life forms did not affect us during our transition. We are, in essence, invisible to the Force. The implications hung in the air like a charged particle field. Janeway met Seven's eyes and saw her own thoughts reflected there. If they couldn't be detected or influenced by the Force, they possessed an advantage that could be invaluable or make them targets. "Keep that information classified for now," Janeway ordered. "Until we understand these Jedi and their intentions, we don't reveal that particular card. Energize." The transporter beam dissolved them into quantum particles and reassembled them on the landing platform in a shimmer of light that immediately drew stares from the assembled Jedi waiting to greet them. Janeway had expected robes. The Republic soldiers had mentioned Jedi, and humanity had enough legends about wizards and mystics that the flowing garments weren't surprising. What she hadn't expected was the sheer presence of the figures waiting for them. 5 Jedi stood in a semicircle, their stance relaxed but alert. The eldest, a humanoid with skin the color of burnt sienna and wise eyes that seemed to look through rather than at her, stepped forward. "Captain Janeway," he said, his voice carrying a weight of authority tempered by genuine warmth. "I am Jedi Master Ven Kolar. On behalf of the Jedi Council, I welcome you to Coruscant." His eyes flickered to the space where they'd materialized. "Though I confess, your method of arrival raises many questions." "Master Kolar," Janeway replied with a diplomatic smile. "Thank you for your hospitality. This is my Chief of Security, Lieutenant Commander Tuvok, our 7 of 9, Astrometrics Officer, and our Chief Medical Officer. We appreciate the Council agreeing to meet with us." "The Council is most eager to speak with you," another Jedi interjected, female, human, with dark hair and an expression of intense curiosity. "A vessel that appears from nowhere, utilizing technology we cannot identify, armed with weapons that pierce Sith shields as if they were transparent. You've caused quite a stir, Captain." Janeway noticed that none of the Jedi had weapons drawn, but all of them had cylindrical objects hanging from their belts, the plasma blade weapons they'd witnessed in the battle. Lightsabers, the Republic soldiers had called them. "Our presence here was entirely unintentional," Janeway explained, as they began walking towards the temple entrance. The structure was massive, a ziggurat of stone and metal that radiated age and significance. "We were attempting to use a spatial anomaly to shorten our journey home when something went catastrophically wrong. Now we found ourselves in your galaxy with no way to return to our own." Master Kolar's expression shifted to something approaching sympathy. "Lost far from home in a galaxy at war. The Force works in mysterious ways, Captain. Perhaps your arrival here was not as accidental as you believe." The doctor bristled at that. "Master Kolar, with all due respect, the Force is not a sentient entity making decisions. It's an energy field generated by these midi-chlorians we've detected." Every Jedi stopped walking. The temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees as 5 pairs of eyes focused on the doctor with an intensity that made even Tuvok's hand drift toward where his phaser would be if they hadn't agreed to attend this meeting unarmed. "How do you know about midi-chlorians?" the female Jedi asked, her voice suddenly sharp. "That knowledge is restricted to the Jedi Order and certain Republic scientists. We have shared nothing with you." Janeway stepped forward smoothly, placing herself between her crew and the suddenly tense Jedi. "We have advanced medical scanning technology. When we rescued the Republic soldiers from the battle, our doctor performed standard medical examinations to ensure they weren't injured. He detected the organisms during those scans." "Your sensors can detect midi-chlorians through hull plating and shields?" Master Kolar's tone suggested he wasn't sure whether to be impressed or alarmed. "Captain, the implications of such technology are precisely why the Council wishes to speak with us, I imagine," Janeway finished. "Master Kolar, we have no intention of using our technology against the Republic. We're explorers and scientists, but not conquerors. But we are also not fools. We saw that battle. We understand you're at war with these Sith. We just want to understand where we are and find a way home." The tension held for another moment. Then Master Kohler nodded slowly. "Of course. Forgive our reaction, Captain. These are dangerous times, and the Sith have spies everywhere. Your vessel's sudden appearance, your unknown capabilities, you must understand our caution." "I do," Janeway assured him. "We'd react the same way if an unknown ship appeared in Federation space with weapons we couldn't defend against." They continued into the temple, through corridors lined with ancient statues and illuminated by natural light filtering through massive windows. Janeway's trained eye picked up details. The architecture suggested thousands of years of continuous occupation. The smooth wear on the stone floors spoke to countless generations walking these halls, and the younglings they passed, children being trained in what she assumed were Force techniques, indicated this was more than a military installation. This was a culture, a way of life. The council chamber was circular with 12 chairs arranged in a circle and windows offering a panoramic view of Coruscant's endless cityscape. 11 of those chairs were occupied by Jedi of various species, some humanoid, others distinctly alien. All of them radiated that same presence Janeway had felt from the escort. Captain Janeway, an ancient Jedi with long pointed ears and eyes full of wisdom that made him seem impossibly old, spoke. "Master Yoda, I am. Much to discuss?" "We have." Janeway had dealt with enough alien species to recognize a power dynamic when she saw one. Yoda might be small and ancient, but every other Jedi in the room deferred to him. This was the real authority. "Master Yoda," she replied respectfully. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with us." "Choice we had little," Yoda replied, though his tone suggested amusement rather than hostility. "Appear from nowhere you did. Technology unknown you possess. Questions we have many." Another council member, a dark-skinned human male with a serious expression, leaned forward. "Captain, let's address the primary concern directly. Your weapons cut through Sith shields with ease. Your ship moved with precision that suggests propulsion technology far beyond our understanding. Your sensors apparently penetrate our most secure medical knowledge. The question we must ask is simple. Are you allies of the Sith?" "Master Windu asks bluntly what we all wonder," Yoda added. Janeway met their gazes steadily. "No, we are not allied with the Sith. We had never heard of the Sith, the Republic, or the Jedi until we arrived in this galaxy. We come from a different reality entirely, a federation of planets united by principles of exploration, diplomacy, and mutual cooperation. We don't conquer, we don't enslave. We seek knowledge and peaceful coexistence with other civilizations." "Noble words," Master Windu replied, "but words are easy. The Sith have honeyed tongues when it suits them." Tuvok spoke for the first time, his Vulcan logic cutting through the tension. "Masters, if we were allied with the Sith, why would we have defended Republic escape pods? Why would we have damaged a Sith warship? Your own records show we fired upon your enemies without provocation or expectation of reward." "Valid point this is," Yoda acknowledged. "Yet understand, we must, your capabilities. Demonstrate your technology, will you?" Janeway exchanged glances with her officers. This was the moment where they either earned the Council's trust or became prisoners. She made her decision. 7. Show them your tricorder readings of the battle. Doctor, explain your findings about midi-chlorians. Tuvok, provide a basic overview of our propulsion and weapons systems. Basic only, nothing classified. For the next hour, Voyager's officers presented a carefully edited version of Federation technology. 7 of 9 displayed three-dimensional scans of the battle that showed energy patterns the Jedi had never seen visualized. The doctor explained how their medical technology had revealed midi-chlorian counts and their hypothesized connection to force sensitivity. Tuvok described matter-antimatter reactions and how phasers worked on principles of nadion particle acceleration. The council listened with varying degrees of fascination and concern. Antimatter, one council member breathed. They harness the annihilation of matter and antimatter to power their vessel. The energy requirements alone exceed our most advanced power generation by several orders of magnitude, another finished. Captain, a single vessel with your capabilities could change the balance of this war. Which is precisely why we won't be used as a weapon, Janeway stated firmly. Masters, we have principles. The Federation operates under what we call the Prime Directive, a prohibition against interfering in the natural development of alien civilizations. While we're clearly well beyond that point already, I will not turn my ship into an instrument of war for either side of this conflict. Master Windu's expression hardened. Captain, this is not some border dispute. The Sith Empire seeks to enslave the entire galaxy. They corrupt everything they touch, turning sentience into slaves and entire planets into factories of death. You cannot remain neutral when facing such evil. Can't we? Janeway challenged. Master Windu, we've been in your galaxy for less than 2 days. We don't understand your politics, your history, or the complexities of this war. For all we know, both sides have committed atrocities. Both sides believe they're right. How can we judge? The Force itself judges, Yoda said quietly. Light and dark there are. Balance there must be. The Sith embrace the dark side, passion, hatred, aggression. The Jedi serve the light, peace, knowledge, serenity. Choose sides. The Force does not allow neutrality. 7 of 9 tilted her head, her Borg implants processing this. Master Yoda, with respect, the Force is an energy field. Energy does not make moral judgments. The individuals wielding it make choices. The chamber fell silent. Several Jedi looked scandalized. Yoda's ears twitched. In amusement or irritation, Janeway couldn't tell. Interesting perspective this is, Yoda finally said. Yet wrong, I believe you are. More than energy the Force is, alive in its way, conscious perhaps, guide us it does. Or perhaps, the doctor interjected, with the tactlessness that made him simultaneously invaluable and infuriating, you interpret patterns in the energy field as guidance because your biology is predisposed to seek meaning and purpose. Your midi-chlorians allow you to access the Force, but that doesn't mean the Force itself is sentient. Janeway saw Master Windu's hand drift toward his lightsaber and decided to cut off the theological debate before it became a diplomatic incident. Gentlemen, we can discuss the nature of the Force another time. Right now, we need to understand our situation. We're stranded in your galaxy. We need supplies, information, and ideally, a way to return to our own reality. In exchange, we can offer medical assistance. Our doctor is a holographic program with medical knowledge far beyond what we've seen here. We can offer scientific expertise. We can even offer limited defensive support if we're attacked. But we will not become a weapon in your war. Supplies we can provide, Yoda said after a long moment of silence. Information, freely given it will be. But understand, Captain, neutrality may not be possible. The Sith will seek to capture or destroy your vessel. Already they know of you. Already they plan. As if summoned by the words, alarms began blaring throughout the temple. A Jedi burst into the council chamber, his expression urgent. Masters, Sith infiltrators have been detected in the lower levels. They're trying to access the temple's communication arrays. We believe they're attempting to transmit information about the Federation vessel to their superiors. Janeway's hand instinctively went to her comm badge. Janeway to Voyager, status report. Chakotay's voice came back immediately, tense. "Captain, we're detecting multiple energy signatures approaching the landing platform. They appeared on our sensors less than a minute ago. Some kind of cloaking technology we can't penetrate. I'm reading lightsaber energy signatures among them." "How many?" "At least 20, Captain, and they're moving fast." Master Windu was already on his feet, his lightsaber igniting with a snap hiss that sent a purple blade thrumming into existence. "Captain, your ship is under attack. We must—" "Voyager emergency transport. Beam the away team directly to the bridge and raise shields. Lock down the ship." Before the Jedi could react, Janeway and her officers dissolved into transporter beams, vanishing from the council chamber in a shimmer of light. They rematerialized on Voyager's bridge to organized chaos. Tom Paris had the ship on full alert. Chakotay was coordinating with security, and Harry Kim's fingers were flying across his console. "Captain, the attackers are on the platform," Kim reported. "They're armed with lightsabers and—" "Captain, they're cutting through our hull. The shields aren't stopping them because they're already inside the defensive perimeter." Janeway dropped into her command chair, her mind racing through tactical options. "Tuvok, can we transport them off the ship?" "Negative. Their personal energy fields are interfering with our transporter lock. I believe it is their connection to the Force. They are somehow disrupting our targeting sensors." "Captain, we have hull breaches on decks 2 and 3. B'Elanna's voice crackled over the comm. "These lightsabers are cutting through our bulkheads like they're made of paper. We need to repel boarders now." On the view screen, Janeway saw Jedi Masters emerging from the temple, their own lightsabers ignited as they moved to intercept the Sith attackers. The platform had become a battlefield, plasma blades clashing in showers of sparks as the two sides engaged. But some of the Sith had already made it onto Voyager. "Intruder alert," the computer announced calmly. "Unauthorized personnel detected on decks 2, 3, and 4. Janeway made her decision. "Tuvok, arm all security personnel with phaser rifles set to maximum stun. 7, I want you to analyze the energy signatures these Force users emit. Find me a way to counter it. Tom, be ready to get us out of here the moment I give the word." "Captain," Chakotay said quietly, "if we leave now, we abandon any chance of an alliance with the Jedi. We'll be on our own in this galaxy." "If we stay, we lose the ship," Janeway countered. "And without Voyager, we're stranded here permanently with no hope of ever getting home." On the view screen, one of the Sith attackers turned away from the battle with the Jedi and looked directly at the bridge viewport. Even at this distance, Janeway could feel the weight of that gaze, malevolent, hungry, and utterly confident. The Sith raised a hand, and lightning erupted from their fingertips. De-arsing toward Voyager's hull, the shields absorbed the impact, but the energy readings made Tuvok's eyebrow climb. "Captain, that attack carried the equivalent force of a photon torpedo. If they can generate that kind of power individually, then we're not just dealing with people who can move things with their minds," Janeway finished grimly. "We're dealing with living weapons." A explosion rocked the ship. Harry Kim's console lit up with damage reports. "Captain, they've breached the armory on Deck 4. Security teams are engaging, but lightsabers are cutting through our bulkheads faster than we can seal them." Janeway's jaw set. They'd been in this galaxy for less than 48 hours, and already they were under attack by Force-wielding assassins, while the Jedi Council debated whether to trust them. This was going to be a long way home. "All hands, battle stations," she ordered. "Let's show these Sith what Federation technology can really do." The Council's scrutiny scythe, shadows, and Federation ideals. The Sith who had breached Deck 4 never expected the phaser blast. Lieutenant Commander Tuvok led the security team with Vulcan precision. His phaser rifle trained on the crimson-armored figure, who was carving through a bulkhead with methodical strikes of his lightsaber. The Sith sensed them. His head snapped around with inhuman speed, yellow eyes gleaming with dark satisfaction behind his helmet's visor. "More lambs for the slaughter," the Sith hissed, raising his free hand. Lightning crackled between his fingers, the same devastating energy weapon they'd witnessed in the battle. Tuvok fired. The orange phaser beam struck the Sith squarely in the chest before he could release his attack. The Force wielder's eyes widened in shock as the Nadion particles disrupted his nervous system at the molecular level. He collapsed, unconscious, his lightsaber deactivating as it clattered to the deck. "Interesting," Tuvok observed with clinical detachment. "Their Force abilities do not provide immunity to directed energy weapons. Security team, stun setting appears to be effective. Proceed with caution. They remain extremely dangerous even when surprised." On the bridge, Janeway listened to the security reports filtering in with grim satisfaction. 3 Sith infiltrators stunned and contained, 2 more driven back by Jedi reinforcements, the rest in full retreat from the landing platform. Voyager's shields had held against the Force lightning attacks, and the combination of Federation technology and Jedi intervention had repelled the assault. But the message had been sent and received on all sides. Voyager was now a prize in this galactic war. "Captain," Harry Kim reported, his voice tight with urgency. "I'm picking up an incoming transmission. It's on a frequency that shouldn't exist. It's cutting through every encryption protocol we have, like they're not even there. And Captain, it's specifically addressed to you." Janeway exchanged glances with Chakotay. Her first officer's expression mirrored her own thoughts. The Sith had somehow acquired knowledge of their command structure and communication protocols impossibly fast. "Put it through, audio only." The voice that filled the bridge was smooth, cultured, and carried an undercurrent of amused malice that made Janeway's skin crawl. It was the voice of someone who had never doubted their superiority, who saw other beings as pieces on a game board to be moved or removed at will. "Captain Catherine Janeway of the Federation vessel Voyager. I am Darth Arctus, Dark Lord of the Sith and Master of the Fourth Sphere. I believe we have much to discuss." "We have nothing to discuss," Janeway replied coldly. "You just attacked my ship and my crew." A low chuckle. "A test, Captain. Merely a test. The Jedi claim you are a neutral party, lost and confused in our galaxy. I needed to verify whether your ship's defenses matched the impressive display you provided against our warship. They do. In fact, they exceed our projections." "If you're trying to intimidate me..." "Intimidation is for lesser beings, Captain. I am offering you something far more valuable. Truth." The voice shifted, becoming almost conversational. "The Jedi welcome you with honeyed words and philosophical platitudes. They speak of the light side, of peace and justice, but they don't tell you the whole truth, do they?" Despite herself, Janeway felt a flicker of curiosity. What truth? That the Jedi Order controls the Republic through manipulation and religious dogma. That they steal children from their families to indoctrinate them into their cult. That they suppress any Force-sensitive who doesn't conform to their narrow definition of proper behavior. That their peace is maintained through fear of their power and their willingness to use it against anyone who challenges their authority. Chakotay leaned toward Janeway, his voice barely above a whisper. "Classic divide and conquer tactics. He's trying to make us distrust the Jedi." "I know," Janeway murmured back. To the Sith Lord, she said, "Even if everything you're saying is true, that doesn't justify your actions. We witnessed your forces attacking Republic soldiers. We've seen the destruction your war has caused. War is the natural state of sentient beings, Captain. The strong rise, the weak fall. The Sith embrace this truth while the Jedi deny it. We offer freedom, freedom to pursue one's passions, to seek power, to forge one's own destiny. The Jedi offer only restrictions, rules, denial of self. You offer tyranny, Janeway countered. Freedom doesn't mean the strong can prey on the weak without consequence. Doesn't it? The amusement in Darth Arctus's voice was palpable. Tell me, Captain, being your Federation, this utopia you claim to come from, do you have no military, no weapons, no hierarchy of command where some give orders and others obey? Or do you simply dress your tyranny in prettier language? The question struck closer to home than Janeway wanted to admit. The Federation did have Starfleet, did maintain weapons, did operate under a command structure that required obedience, but there was a difference between legitimate authority and oppression. Wasn't there? 7 of 9's voice cut through the conversation with characteristic bluntness. Darth Arctus, your philosophical arguments are irrelevant. You attacked our vessel. You attempted to kill our crew. Your actions have already defined your character. Silence on the channel for a moment, then, the Borg drone. Yes, we've analyzed your unique biosignature. You're neither fully human nor fully machine, a fascinating merger of organic and synthetic. Tell me, 7 of 9, do you remember the collective? Do you miss the certainty of perfect unity, of knowing your place in a vast whole that transcended individual weakness? 7's posture stiffened almost imperceptibly. I was liberated from the Borg. I have no desire to return to that existence. Liberated, or merely captured by a different collective, one with friendlier rhetoric but the same fundamental structure. Captain Janeway gives orders. You obey. How is this different from the Borg Queen? Because I choose to follow Captain Janeway's orders, 7 replied, her voice sharp. Choice is the difference. The Borg allowed none. Captain Janeway respects individual autonomy even within command structure. Choice, Darth Arctus mused. Yes, choice is important. Which brings me to my offer, Captain Janeway. I can provide you with detailed star charts of this galaxy, including regions of space with anomalies similar to the one that brought you here. I can give you access to Sith hyperspace technology that might be adapted to your warp drive systems. I can even provide protection while you conduct your research. Protection you will desperately need once word of your capabilities spreads throughout the galaxy. All I ask in return is a conversation, face to face. You, me, and whatever security detail makes you feel comfortable. Janeway's instinct screamed trap, but her scientific training and diplomatic experience saw opportunity. Knowledge of spatial anomalies could be their ticket home, and understanding both sides of this conflict, really understanding them, not just accepting the Jedi's version, was essential to navigating their situation. I need to discuss this with my crew, Janeway temporized. Of course, I will transmit coordinates where we can meet, neutral space, outside both Republic and Sith territorial claims. I will come alone, unarmed except for my lightsaber, which I'm certain your weapons can counter effectively. You bring whomever you wish. If we cannot reach an understanding, we part ways, and I will not trouble you further. But Captain, the voice dropped lower, more intimate. The Jedi will never let you leave. They cannot afford to. Your technology is too valuable, and they are too afraid of it falling into enemy hands. They will find reasons to delay your departure, to bind you to their cause. I offer you freedom they never will. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in heavy silence. It's obviously a trap, Tom Paris stated flatly. I mean, come on. Meet me alone in neutral space, trust me? That's Villain Handbook, Chapter 1. Agreed, Tuvok added. The probability of this being a genuine diplomatic overture is less than 3%. but Chakotay's expression was thoughtful. "Catherine, some of what he said about the Jedi, we've already seen hints of it. The Council's reaction to our knowledge of midi-chlorians, the way they immediately assumed we should join their cause, and they do take children away from their families to train them. That doesn't make the Sith the good guys." B'Elanna's voice crackled over the comm from engineering. "Bad people can tell truths when it serves them. Doesn't change what they are." Janeway stood, pacing the bridge as she organized her thoughts. "You're all right, but we're also stuck in a galaxy we don't understand, caught between two powers who both want to use us. We need information. We need to understand what we're really dealing with." Captain 7 of 9 interjected. "I recommend we also consider the Sith Lord's analysis of our situation. He is correct that the Jedi will view our departure as unacceptable. We represent technological advantage they cannot allow their enemies to possess. Whether or not we choose to aid them, they may attempt to prevent our leaving." The observation hung in the air like a photon torpedo waiting to detonate. Janeway had been so focused on the immediate crisis, the attack, the Sith infiltrators, the damage to the ship, that she hadn't fully processed the longer-term implications. They weren't guests, they were assets, and assets didn't get to leave until their owners decided they could. "Harry," Janeway said quietly, "pull up everything we've recorded about Republic and Jedi operations. I want to know how they treat dissent, how they handle refugees, what their track record is with neutrality and sovereignty. 7. I want you to analyze the Force phenomena we've encountered. Find me weaknesses, limitations, anything we can use if we need to defend ourselves. Tuvok, review all security footage from the Sith attack. I want to know how they think, how they fight, what their tactical priorities were." "Captain," Chakotay said carefully, "are we actually considering meeting with this Darth Arctis?" Janeway turned to face her first officer, seeing her own conflict reflected in his eyes. "I don't know yet, but I'm not going to make that decision in ignorance. We gather information, we assess our options, and then we decide. In the meantime, get me Master Yoda on a secure channel. If we're going to navigate between these two powers, I need to understand what the Jedi really want from us." The comm channel to the Jedi Temple took several minutes to establish, during which time B'Elanna reported that the hull breaches had been sealed and the captured Sith infiltrator was secured in their brig behind a level 10 force field that even a lightsaber would have difficulty penetrating. When Master Yoda's image finally appeared on the view screen, his ancient face was troubled. "Captain Janeway, grave the attack was. Apologize I must for bringing danger to your doorstep. Master Yoda, we need to have a frank conversation about our situation," Janeway said. Deciding directness was the best approach with the Jedi Master. "I've just received a communication from a Sith Lord offering safe passage and information in exchange for a meeting. Before I dismiss that offer out of hand, I need to understand what your council expects from us." Yoda's ears drooped slightly. "Direct you are. Appreciate it, I do. Truth, you deserve." He paused, seeming to gather his thoughts. "Concerned, the council is. Your technology, unprecedented it is. In Sith hands, devastating it would be. In Jedi hands." He trailed off meaningfully. "It would turn the tide of the war," Janeway finished. "I understand the temptation, Master Yoda, but my ship is not a weapon to be wielded by either side. We are explorers, scientists. We came here by accident, knowing we intend to leave the same way as soon as we can find a way home. And if a way home there is not?" The question struck at Janeway's deepest fear. She'd spent 7 years leading her crew through the Delta Quadrant, sustained by the hope of returning to the Alpha Quadrant, to the Federation, to their families. The thought that they might be stranded permanently in this alien galaxy. "Then we'll keep looking," she said firmly. Master Yoda, I need your word that if we cooperate with the Republic, if we share limited information and provide reasonable assistance, you will not try to prevent us from leaving when and if we find a way home. The Jedi Master's expression was sorrowful. Captain, promise that I cannot. The Council divided is. Some believe your presence, the will of the Force it is. That here for a purpose you are. I that leave you should not, until that purpose fulfilled is. So we're prisoners. Guests you are, Yoda corrected gently, but guests who free to leave are not, yes. Understand, you must. No, Master Yoda, you need to understand something. Janeway's voice carried the steel that had gotten her crew through impossible situations for 7 years. I am not subject to the Force's will or the Jedi Council's authority. My crew and I are sovereign individuals with the right to self-determination. We will help where we can, share what we safely can, but we will not be held hostage by either side's fear of what we represent. A long silence. Then Yoda nodded slowly. Respect your position, I do, but change the reality, it does not. Dangerous, your knowledge is. Protect the galaxy. The Jedi must, even at the cost of imprisoning innocent people. Done worse things, the Jedi have. When necessary, regret them, we do, but do them again, we would if the alternative worse still is. The brutal honesty was almost refreshing. At least Yoda wasn't trying to dress up coercion in pleasant language. He was acknowledging exactly what they were dealing with. I see, Janeway said quietly. Thank you for your honesty, Master Yoda. That makes my next decision considerably easier. She cut the transmission before the Jedi Master could respond. The bridge crew stared at her, waiting. Tom Paris broke the silence first. Captain, please tell me you're not actually considering meeting with the Sith Lord. I'm considering it, Janeway confirmed, because right now we have two options. Stay here as the Jedi's honored prisoners, slowly losing our autonomy until we're effectively part of the Republic military. Or we take a risk, gather information from both sides, and find a third option. One where we maintain our independence and find our own way home. There is a third possibility you have not mentioned, Seven observed. We could leave Coruscant immediately before either side can organize a response, travel to unexplored regions of this galaxy, and conduct our own research into spatial anomalies. Chakotay shook his head. We'd be fugitives. Both the Republic and the Sith Empire would hunt us, and without access to their star charts and scientific databases, we'd be searching blind. Which brings us back to meeting with Darth Arctus, Janeway concluded. Not because I trust him, I don't. Not because I believe the Sith are better than the Jedi. They're not. But because we need leverage, and information is leverage. Tuvok, I want a security detail of our best personnel. 7, you're coming with me. Your Borg analytical capabilities might spot things the rest of us miss. Doctor, prepare medical supplies and your mobile emitter. If this goes badly, I want our best medic on site. Captain, the doctor protested, I must point out that my program could be vulnerable to electromagnetic interference from Force lightning. If these Sith can generate that much energy, then stay behind the security detail and be ready to emergency transport back to Voyager if things go sideways. Tom, you have the con. If we're not back in 2 hours, or if Voyager comes under attack, you get this ship out of here and don't look back. Paris's usual cocky demeanor was completely absent. Captain, we're not leaving you behind. That's an order, Lieutenant. This crew's survival is more important than any individual, including me. Understood. A chorus of reluctant acknowledgments. 30 minutes later, Janeway stood in the transporter room with 7 of 9 Tuvok and 3 security officers armed with phaser rifles. The doctor's mobile emitter was clipped to his uniform, allowing his holographic form to accompany them outside Voyager's holo-emitters. The coordinates Darth Arctus had provided were for a desolate moon orbiting a gas giant in what the Republic star charts labeled as disputed territory, claimed by neither side and too resource-poor to fight over. Sensors showed a single life form and minimal technology at the designated meeting site. "If it's a trap, it's a subtle one," Harry Kim reported from his station. "No hidden ships, no unusual energy readings, just one person and what looks like a small atmospheric shuttle." "Or they have cloaking technology we can't detect," Chakotay pointed out grimly. "Only one way to find out," Janeway said. "Energize." The transporter beam deposited them on the surface of a moon that looked like it had never known life. Gray dust stretched in every direction beneath a sky turned murky brown by the gas giant's reflected light. The air was thin but breathable, the gravity slightly less than Earth standard, and 50 meters away, standing alone beside a sleek black shuttle, was Darth Arctus. He was tall, humanoid, with pale skin that seemed to drink in what little light filtered through the atmosphere. His robes were dark red trimmed with black, and he wore no visible armor. The lightsaber hanging from his belt was the only weapon Janeway could see, though she had no doubt he was far from unarmed. His eyes were what held her attention, yellow and red, swirling with colors that shouldn't exist in human irises and filled with an intelligence that was both brilliant and utterly alien to everything Janeway understood about morality. "Captain Janeway," Darth Arctus said, his voice the same cultured tone they'd heard over the comm. "Thank you for accepting my invitation. I know trust is in short supply between us, so let me begin by offering something freely. Information." He gestured and a holographic display materialized in the air between them. Star charts, technical readouts, and what appeared to be sensor logs. "This is everything we've gathered about spatial anomalies in the past decade. The Sith Empire has been studying them for years, hoping to find ways to transport our fleets instantaneously across the galaxy. We've found 17 locations where the fabric of space is thin, where reality bleeds into something else. 3 of them show energy signatures similar to what our sensors detected when your ship arrived. 7 of 9 was already analyzing the data with her tricorder. Captain, this information appears genuine. The anomaly coordinates correspond to regions of gravitational distortion we detected during our initial scans. This could be invaluable for locating a way home." "Consider it a gift," Darth Arctus said smoothly. "No strings attached. You're free to take this data and leave, but I hope you'll stay long enough to hear my proposition." Janeway studied him carefully, looking for deception, for hidden threats. All she saw was confidence, the certainty of someone who believed they held all the cards. "I'm listening." "The galaxy is sick, Captain. The Republic is a rotting corpse held together by Jedi mysticism and political corruption. The Sith Empire seeks to burn it all down and build something stronger from the ashes. You represent a third option, an outside force with no stake in our ancient feuds, no allegiance to either light or dark, and technology that could reshape the balance of power." "You want me to join the Sith," Janeway stated flatly. "No, I want you to remain neutral. I want you to be exactly what you claim to be, explorers seeking a way home. But while you're here, you could act as a moderating force, a neutral party that both sides must respect, because destroying you would cost more than any advantage gained. You become the balance point, Captain, the fulcrum on which the fate of the galaxy tips." It was seductive, Janeway had to admit. The idea of being the neutral mediator, the voice of reason between two extremes. It appealed to everything she believed about diplomacy and peaceful resolution. It was also probably a lie. "And what do you get out of this arrangement?" she asked. Darth Arctus smiled, and it was like watching a predator bare its teeth. Time. The Sith Empire is not yet strong enough to challenge the Republic directly across all fronts. We need time to consolidate our gains, to bring more systems into our fold, to build the weapons and fleets necessary for final victory. Your presence complicates the Jedi's strategic planning. They must account for you now, where you are, what you might do, whether you'll intervene. Every moment they spend worried about you is a moment they're not focused entirely on us. So we're a distraction. You're a variable in an equation that has been static for millennia. That alone makes you valuable. Tuvok's phaser rifle never wavered from its ready position. Darth Arctus, you are asking us to enable your conquest by providing distraction for your enemies. This is not neutrality. This is passive collaboration with tyranny. The Sith Lord's yellow eyes fixed on Tuvok with interest. A Vulcan. I've read about your species in the Stolen Republic databases. Logic above emotion, reason above passion. Tell me logically, what is the difference between the Jedi's authoritarian control and the Sith's honest pursuit of power? Both rule through force. Both impose their will on others. The Jedi simply pretend they're doing it for noble reasons. The difference, Tuvok replied coolly, is that the Jedi at least aspire to justice, even if they fail to achieve it. The Sith embrace injustice as natural and desirable. Logic dictates that a flawed system attempting to improve is preferable to a system that glorifies its flaws. Fascinating. So you would choose comfortable lies over uncomfortable truths. I would choose the society that protects the weak over the society that exploits them. Darth Arctus laughed, a sound like breaking glass. And yet your captain stands here meeting with me because she knows the Jedi will never let her leave. She knows that their protection is indistinguishable from imprisonment. Tell me, Vulcan, is that justice? Before Tuvok could respond, 7 of 9 stepped forward, her analytical mind cutting through the philosophical debate. Darth Arctus, you have provided valuable information and articulated your position clearly. However, your fundamental premise is flawed. You assume we must choose between Jedi oppression and Sith exploitation. We choose neither. We will find our own path. Will you? The Sith Lord's expression shifted to something approaching genuine curiosity. How? The Jedi will not let you leave their sphere of influence. The moment you attempt to depart, they will find reasons to delay you. And if you refuse, they will use force, always for your own good, of course, always to protect you from the terrible Sith, but force nonetheless. You will be guests who cannot leave. Then allies who must contribute, then soldiers who fight their war. It is inevitable. Nothing is inevitable, Janeway stated firmly. You're right that the Jedi won't simply let us leave, but that doesn't mean I'm going to help the Sith conquer the galaxy while I figure out an alternative. Then what will you do, Captain? Janeway looked at the star charts still glowing in holographic display, at the spatial anomalies that might lead home, at the Sith Lord who offered freedom wrapped in manipulation, at her crew standing ready to follow whatever order she gave. I'm going to do what I've always done, she said quietly. I'm going to find the third option, the one nobody else sees because they're too busy fighting their ancient war to look for alternatives. Darth Arctus regarded her for a long moment, his impossible eyes seeming to peer into her very soul. Then he nodded slowly. No, you are either remarkably brave or remarkably foolish, Captain Janeway. Possibly both. Very well, I have given you what I promised, information and truth. What you do with them is your choice, but know this. When you finally realize that the Jedi will never allow you the freedom you seek, when you understand that this galaxy offers only two paths, and neutrality is not among them, the Sith Empire will be waiting. We appreciate those who think for themselves, who reject dogma in favor of ambition." "I'll keep that in mind," Janeway replied dryly. "Now, if our conversation is concluded, one last thing." Darth Arctus's expression turned serious. "The Jedi have a prophecy, a chosen one who will bring balance to the Force. They interpret this as someone who will destroy the Sith and restore Jedi dominance. But prophecies are tricky things. Captain, balance implies two sides of equal weight. Perhaps you are that balance, neither Jedi nor Sith immune to the Force, wielding technology that makes you equal to our greatest warriors. Perhaps you are the third option you seek. Or perhaps your prophecies are just stories people tell themselves to make sense of chaos," Janeway countered. "We make our own destiny, Darth Arctus, not some mystical energy field. We shall see." He bowed slightly, a gesture of respect between equals. "Safe travels, Captain. I suspect we will meet again." As Darth Arctus returned to his shuttle and departed, Janeway tapped her comm badge. "Janeway to Voyager 6 to beam up." They materialized on the bridge to find Tom Paris's face flooded with relief. "Captain, thank God. We were 30 seconds from violating your orders and coming to get you." "Status report. Jedi vessels have been scanning us continuously since you left. They know you transported somewhere, and they're not happy about it. Master Windu has been demanding to speak with you." "I bet he has." Janeway settled into her command chair, feeling the weight of impossible choices pressing down on her shoulders. "Put him through." Master Windu's face appeared on the view screen, and his expression was thunderous. "Captain, we detected a Federation transporter signature to coordinates in disputed space. Tell me you did not just meet with the Sith." "I met with Darth Arctus," Janeway confirmed, seeing no point in lying. "He provided information about spatial anomalies that might help us find a way home. We exchanged words. No agreements were made. No alliances formed." "You don't understand what you're dealing with," Master Windu said, his voice tight with barely controlled anger. "The Sith are masters of manipulation. Everything Darth Arctus told you was calculated to make you distrust the Jedi, to isolate you, to make you vulnerable to further corruption." "He told me the Jedi won't let me leave," Janeway replied calmly. "Master Yoda confirmed that much." "So which of you is manipulating me, Master Windu?" The Jedi Master's jaw clenched. "Captain, the situation is complicated. It really isn't. You want to use my ship to win your war. The Sith want to use my ship to win their war. I'm not interested in being used by either side. I'm interested in getting my crew home." "That may not be possible. Then I'll keep trying until it is. Lay Voyager out." Janeway cut the transmission and sat back, feeling exhausted. In less than 3 days, they'd been thrown into an alien galaxy, attacked by both sides of a galactic war, and discovered that the mystical energy field that governed this reality saw them as either weapons or threats. "Captain," Chakotay said quietly, "what's our next move?" Janeway looked at the spatial anomaly data Darth Arctus had provided, at her crew waiting for orders, at the stars of an unfamiliar galaxy streaming past on the view screen. "We take the information we've gathered from both sides and we chart our own course. We'll investigate these spatial anomalies, conduct our own research, and find a way home on our terms. And if either the Jedi or the Sith try to stop us," she smiled grimly, "they'll discover exactly how much damage one Federation starship can do when it's properly motivated." 7 of 9 tilted her head thoughtfully. "Captain, there is a fourth option we have not yet considered." "What's that, 7? "We could attempt to end the war." The bridge fell silent. Tom Paris was the first to recover. 7, did your Borg implants short out? End a war that's been going on for thousands of years? How exactly would we do that? By demonstrating a third philosophy, Seven replied with perfect Borg logic. The Jedi represent suppression of emotion in favor of serenity. The Sith represent indulgence of emotion in favor of passion. The Federation represents integration, acknowledging emotion while governing it with reason. We are proof that there is another way. If we could show the galaxy that alternative, we'd be violating the Prime Directive in the most spectacular way possible, Janeway finished. But even as she said it, she felt something stirring, a possibility, a hope, a third option emerging from impossible circumstances. They'd come to this galaxy by accident, but maybe, just maybe, they could do some good before they found their way home. All right, Janeway decided. We're not committing to anything yet, but I want options. 7. Work with the Doctor on analyzing everything we know about the Force. Harry, plot courses to those spatial anomalies Darth Arctis provided, but verify everything independently. Tuvok, I want threat assessments for both Jedi and Sith intervention scenarios. Chakotay, I start thinking about what a diplomatic solution to this war might look like, assuming such a thing is even possible. And what are you going to do, Captain? Chakotay asked. Janeway smiled, feeling the familiar rush of a challenge accepted. I'm going to figure out how to unite a galaxy that's been tearing itself apart for millennia. How hard can it be? The looks her crew gave her suggested they thought she'd lost her mind. They might be right. But Catherine Janeway had gotten her crew through 7 years in the Delta Quadrant by refusing to accept impossible situations. She'd faced the Borg, Species 8472, the Q Continuum, and countless other threats that should have destroyed them. One more impossible challenge was just another day at the office. Forging the Impossible Alliance. Forging the Impossible Alliance. The holographic display in Voyager's Astrometrics lab showed the old Republic galaxy in all its fractured glory. 7 of 9 had spent the past 18 hours compiling data from Republic databases, Sith intelligence provided by Darth Arctis, and Voyager's own long-range sensor sweeps. The result was a political map that made even the Delta Quadrant's chaotic territorial disputes look simple by comparison. The Republic controls approximately 42% of known space, 7 reported to the assembled senior staff, her Borg-enhanced efficiency cutting through the complexity with characteristic precision. The Sith Empire holds 28%. The remaining 30% is divided between independent systems, criminal organizations, Mandalorian space, corporate sectors, and regions too remote or resource-poor for either side to contest. Captain Janeway studied the map, her coffee cup cooling in her hand as she processed the implications. That's a lot of neutral territory, systems that haven't chosen sides, or systems that tried to remain neutral and were conquered by one side or the other, Chakotay pointed out grimly. He gestured to a cluster of systems on the map's edge that flickered between Republic Blue and Sith Red. Look at the contested rim. These systems have changed hands 7 times in the past decade. Their populations have been decimated by the fighting. And both the Jedi and Sith claim they're liberating these worlds, B'Elanna added, her Klingon heritage giving her voice an edge of disgust. So liberation that leaves billions dead and entire planets strip-mined for war resources. The Doctor, his holographic form shimmering slightly in the lab's lighting, brought up medical data alongside the political map. I've been analyzing casualty statistics from the war. The numbers are staggering. Over 12 trillion sentients dead in the past 50 years alone. That's not counting those enslaved, displaced, or traumatized. By Federation standards, both sides would be guilty of crimes against sentient life on a scale we've never encountered. Tuvok's eyebrow climbed at the assessment, but he didn't dispute it. The question becomes, Can we remain neutral in the face of such suffering? The Prime Directive was designed to prevent cultural contamination of developing civilizations. This galaxy is far more advanced than the Federation in some technologies, and we are not observing from a distance. We are participants whether we wish to be or not. 7 suggested we try to end the war, Tom Paris said, from his position at the edge of the group. I thought she was crazy, but after seeing these numbers, maybe trying to do nothing would be crazier. Janeway set down her coffee and moved closer to the display, her mind racing through scenarios, possibilities, and risks. The problem isn't whether we should try to help. The problem is how. We can't defeat the Sith Empire militarily. We're one ship against fleets of thousands. We can't trust the Jedi Council not to use us as a weapon. And we can't just bring everyone together for a peace conference because they've been trying to kill each other for millennia. We need leverage, Chakotay observed. Something both sides want badly enough to listen to us. We are the leverage, 7 stated flatly. Both factions desire our technology. Both fear it in enemy hands. Both would prefer we remain neutral rather than ally with their opponent. We can use that fear to force negotiations. By threatening to give our technology to whoever doesn't cooperate? B'Elanna shook her head. That's the kind of brinksmanship that starts wars, not ends them. Not threats, Janeway said slowly, an idea crystallizing. Incentives. What if we offered something neither side could get through conquest? What if we became the neutral ground, literally and figuratively, where different factions could meet without fear of Jedi or Sith interference? The senior staff exchanged glances, skepticism and hope warring on their faces. You want to turn Voyager into a diplomatic platform? Chakotay asked. Captain, we barely have enough resources to maintain our own operations. How could we host negotiations between galaxy-spanning empires? We wouldn't host the empires, Janeway clarified, her excitement building as the plan took shape. We'd host the ones who have the most to gain from peace, the independent systems, the neutral traders, the worlds caught between Republic and Sith territory that just want the fighting to stop. If we can unite them, give them a voice, a platform, a way to push back against both sides, we create a third power block that neither the Jedi nor the Sith can ignore. 7's ocular implant flickered as she processed the concept. A coalition of minor powers leveraging collective strength against major powers. The Borg encountered similar scenarios in Delta Quadrant species 4719. Success rate was approximately 37%. Better than 0%, Tom quipped, which is what our current plan's success rate is. There's another factor, the doctor interjected. I've been studying the Force and its practitioners. The Jedi and Sith are powerful, yes, but they're also limited. Their abilities depend on this midi-chlorian connection, which means they're vulnerable to strategies that don't rely on the Force. Our technology operates on entirely different principles. We could train neutral forces in tactics that counter Force users. Tuvok nodded slowly. A compelling argument. If we could demonstrate that Force users are not invincible, that technology and tactics can level the playing field, we would fundamentally alter the galactic power structure. We'd also paint a target on our backs the size of a gas giant, B'Elanna countered. The second the Jedi or Sith realize we're actively undermining their military advantage, they'll come after us with everything they've got. They're already coming after us, Janeway replied. The Sith boarded our ship within 48 hours of our arrival. The Jedi have made it clear they won't let us leave. We're already in the fight, B'Elanna. The question is whether we fight reactively, defending ourselves while we search for a way home, or whether we fight strategically, trying to create the conditions that would let us leave this galaxy better than we found it. Chakotay studied his captain with the expression of a man who'd seen this particular look before. The one that meant Janeway had made a decision and would move a planet to make it happen. "You're serious about this?" "I am. We didn't ask to be thrown into this galaxy, into this war, but we're here and we have capabilities that could make a real difference. The Federation didn't become what it is by standing aside when we could help. We did it by bringing people together, by showing that cooperation beats conflict, by proving there's always a third option." "Captain," Seven said, her tone carrying a note of caution unusual for her typically confident demeanor. "I must point out that the Federation was built over centuries through careful diplomacy between species with compatible values. We are attempting to unite factions with millennia of mutual hatred in a matter of weeks or months. The statistical probability of success is irrelevant," Janeway interrupted gently. "Seven, you told me once that you survived in the collective by never accepting that anything was impossible. That's what we do now. We don't accept that this war is inevitable. We don't accept that we can't make a difference. We try, and if we fail, at least we fail doing something worthwhile." The silence that followed was broken by Tom Paris's dry chuckle. "Well, when you put it that way, how can we say no? So, Captain, where do we start with this impossible task?" Janeway turned back to the galactic map. "I'm pointing to a cluster of systems in the mid-rim. Here, the Telos sector. According to our data, these systems have declared neutrality and are trying to maintain trade relationships with both Republic and Sith territories. They have the most to gain from a lasting peace and the most to lose if the war continues to expand. We make contact, we offer them Voyager's protection and our communications technology to coordinate their defense, and we use them as a foundation to build outward. The Jedi will see this as us building an army," Tuvok warned. "The Sith will see it as us creating a buffer zone they can exploit," Chakotay added. "Then we make sure both of them understand that this coalition isn't for conquest or defense. It's for peace," Janeway replied. "We'll invite both Jedi and Sith observers to our initial meetings. Full transparency, no hidden agendas. We're not trying to replace either power. We're trying to create a space where conflict resolution is possible." B'Elanna crossed her arms, her expression skeptical but not entirely closed off. "And if they refuse, if they see this as a threat and decide to destroy us before we can get started, then we use every trick in the Federation playbook to stay alive long enough to make it work," Janeway said with a grim smile. "Warp speed, transporter technology, tactical thinking, and sheer stubborn refusal to quit. We've survived 7 years in the Delta Quadrant against worse odds. We can do this." The conviction in her voice seemed to settle something in the room. One by one, Janeway saw her crew shift from skepticism to cautious determination. "I'll need to modify our communications array." Harry Kim's voice came over the comm from the bridge. "If we're going to coordinate a coalition of systems, we'll need relay satellites and encryption protocols that can resist both Jedi and Sith intelligence gathering. I can adapt our shield harmonics to counterforce lightning more effectively," B'Elanna added, warming to the challenge. "And maybe reverse engineer some of this lightsaber technology. If we could create melee weapons that resist lightsaber strikes, that would give non-Force users a fighting chance. I shall prepare tactical analyses of both Jedi and Sith combat doctrines," Tuvok stated. "If we are to train neutral forces, we must understand our opponent's methodologies thoroughly." 7 of 9's expression was as close to enthusiasm as her Borg-enhanced features allowed. "I will compile databases on all independent systems, their resources, political structures, and strategic value. We must approach this systematically to maximize probability of success." Janeway felt a familiar warmth spreading through her chest. The feeling of her crew rallying together against impossible odds, finding purpose in the midst of chaos. This was what Starfleet was supposed to be about. This was why she'd spent 7 years fighting to get them home. "All right," she said. "We have a plan. Let's—" The red alert klaxon cut through her words like a plasma blade. "Bridge to Captain." Tom Paris's voice was urgent. "We've got company." 3 Republic cruisers just dropped out of hyperspace directly ahead, and they're not here for a friendly chat. They're demanding we stand down and prepare to be boarded by a Jedi security team. Janeway was already moving toward the door. "Battle stations. I'm on my way. Tuvok Chakotay 7 with me." They reached the bridge in less than a minute to find Tom had already raised shields and positioned Voyager in a defensive posture. The view screen showed 3 massive Republic warships, each easily 3 times Voyager's size, arranged in a formation designed to prevent escape. A Jedi Master appeared on the screen, his expression carved from stone. "Captain Janeway, I am Master Kota Vren of the Jedi Council's Security Division. You are hereby ordered to stand down your shields and submit to Republic authority. Your vessel has been designated a strategic asset, and the Council has determined that you pose too great a risk to be allowed autonomous operation." "Master Vren," Janeway replied, keeping her voice level despite the anger building in her chest. "We are not Republic citizens. We are not subject to Council authority. We have committed no crimes. You have no legal jurisdiction over us." "We have the authority granted by necessity," Master Vren countered. "Your technology cannot be allowed to fall into Sith hands. If you will not voluntarily submit to Republic protection, we will take you into custody by force." Chakotay leaned close to Janeway. "Catherine, they're powering weapons. This isn't a bluff." "Neither are we," Janeway murmured back. To the Jedi Master, she said clearly, "Master Vren, if you fire on this ship, you will discover that our defenses are considerably more robust than you anticipate. You will lose ships, you will lose lives, and you will prove to every neutral system in this galaxy that the Republic's talk of freedom and justice is nothing but propaganda." "You would threaten the Republic?" "I would defend my crew from unlawful imprisonment," Janeway corrected. "There's a difference. Now I'm going to make you a counteroffer. Stand down your weapons and I'll agree to meet with the Jedi Council, not as a prisoner but as an equal, to discuss how Voyager can contribute to ending this war without being reduced to a weapon for either side." Master Vren's expression didn't change. "The Council has already made its decision. You have 30 seconds to comply." Tuvok's console chirped urgently. "Captain, the Republic vessels are charging their primary weapons. I am also detecting hyperspace signatures, additional ships incoming." "Republic reinforcements?" Tom asked. "Negative. The energy signatures are consistent with Sith Empire vessels." The view screen split to show a new arrival. 5 Sith warships dropping out of hyperspace in a formation that put them between Voyager and the Republic cruisers. "Perfect timing," Chakotay muttered. "We're about to be caught in a crossfire between both sides." A new voice cut into the comm channel, smooth and dangerously amused. "Master Vren, how fortuitous to find you here. Were you planning to capture the Federation vessel without informing your Sith counterparts? How unsporting." Darth Arctus appeared on a second screen, his yellow eyes gleaming with predatory satisfaction. "Captain Janeway, I see the Jedi have shown their true colors at last. Still believe they respect your sovereignty?" "Sith filth," Master Vren spat. "This is Republic space. You have no authority here." "And you have no authority over Captain Janeway's vessel," Darth Arctus replied smoothly. "She is neither Republic nor Sith. She is a neutral party, and any attempt to capture her by force would be an act of piracy, not that the Jedi have ever let laws stand in the way of their self-righteousness. The situation was spiraling out of control. Janeway could see it in the tactical display, weapons charging on both sides, shields strengthening, fighters launching from hangars. In moments, they'd be in the middle of a full-scale battle, unless she did something dramatic. "Harry," she said quietly, "open a channel to both fleets, all ships, a maximum broadcast." "Channel open, Captain." Janeway stood, placing herself squarely in the center of the view screen, where both Jedi and Sith would see her. "This is Captain Catherine Janeway of the Federation starship Voyager to all vessels in this sector. Stand down your weapons immediately. If either side fires on this ship or on each other, I will interpret it as a declaration of war against the Federation, and I will respond accordingly." "You have no Federation here to back that threat," Master Vren stated. "I have this ship," Janeway replied coldly, "and you've already seen what our weapons can do. Master Vren, Darth Arctis, you're both intelligent enough to run the tactical projections. If you force us to fight, some of you will survive, but not all of you. And the survivors will have to explain to your superiors why you started a war with a neutral power over a single vessel." She let that sink in for a moment before continuing, her voice shifting from threat to reason. "Or, and here's a novel concept, you could both back down and listen to what I have to say, because I have a proposition that might interest you both." Silence. Then Darth Arctis chuckled. "I'm listening, Captain." "As am I," Master Vren said grudgingly, "though I make no promises." Janeway took a breath, knowing she was about to commit Voyager to a course of action that would either save this galaxy or get them all killed. "I'm proposing a summit, neutral territory, representatives from the Republic, the Sith Empire, and the independent systems that both of you have been using as battlegrounds. No weapons except personal defense, full transparency, and the agenda is simple: finding a way to end this war before it consumes the entire galaxy." "The Jedi do not negotiate with the Sith," Master Vren declared. "The dark side cannot be reasoned with." "The Jedi are too blind to see reason," Darth Arctis countered. "Their dogma prevents them from accepting any truth that contradicts their precious light side mythology." "Then you're both cowards," Janeway said flatly. The statement hung in the void like a photon torpedo. "What did you say?" Master Vren's voice was dangerously quiet. "You heard me. You're both so committed to your ancient hatred, so invested in your philosophical differences, that you'd rather let trillions die than spend one day in the same room trying to find common ground. That's not strength. That's cowardice disguised as principle." "Captain," Chakotay hissed, "maybe insulting the people with the massive fleets isn't the best strategy." "It's exactly the right strategy," Janeway replied, never breaking eye contact with the screens, "because they both know I'm right. They've been fighting for so long they've forgotten why they started. It's just inertia now. Kill the enemy because they're the enemy. Conquer systems because those systems have always been contested. Perpetuate the war because ending it would require admitting that maybe, just maybe, both sides have been wrong." "You understand nothing of the Force," Master Vren said. "I understand people," Janeway countered. "I understand that the Jedi take children from their families because you're afraid of emotional attachments. I understand that the Sith embrace passion to the point of destroying themselves and everyone around them. And I understand that there's a middle path, one that acknowledges emotion without being consumed by it, that seeks peace without denying the reality of conflict." "The Federation way," Darth Arctis mused. "How quaint. And you believe this philosophy could end a war that has raged for millennia?" "I believe it's worth trying. and I believe both of you are intelligent enough to recognize that this war is unsustainable. Every battle weakens you both. Every system you conquer is a system you have to garrison, defend, and control. You're locked in a death spiral, and the only way out is to find a different path. 7 of 9 stepped forward, her analytical mind supporting Janeway's argument with hard data. I have calculated the resource expenditure rates for both Republic and Sith Empire military operations. At current consumption levels, both factions will experience critical supply shortages within 18 months. The winner of this war, if there is one, will inherit a galaxy too damaged to govern effectively. The Borg drone speaks truth, Darth Arctus admitted. The Empire's war economy is indeed straining, but the solution is not peace. It is victory before resources are depleted. And how many more trillions die in pursuit of that victory? The Doctor interjected, his holographic form appearing on the bridge beside Janeway. I've reviewed the medical data from both sides. The war's casualties exceed anything in recorded galactic history. This isn't conflict, it's mutual suicide on a civilizational scale. Master Vren's expression was troubled, the first crack Janeway had seen in his certainty. Even if what you say has merit, Captain, the dark side cannot be allowed to triumph. The Sith would enslave the entire galaxy, and the Jedi would control it through fear and religious authority. Darth Arctus shot back. Different chains, same cage. Then break the cage, Janeway urged. Both of you, agree to a summit. Bring your best negotiators, your strategists, your philosophers. Bring the independent systems so they have a voice in their own fate. Meet on neutral ground. I'll provide Voyager as the venue, and spend 1 week trying to find a solution that doesn't involve billions more dead. And if we refuse? Master Vren asked. Janeway's expression hardened. Then I take my ship, I go to every independent system in this galaxy, and I give them the technology and training to defend themselves against both of you. I create a third power block strong enough that neither Republic nor Empire can afford to ignore it. I turn your two-sided war into a three-way conflict that will drag on for centuries, and when historians write about the fall of both Jedi and Sith, they'll note that you had a chance to prevent it and chose pride over peace. The silence stretched. Janeway could hear her own heartbeat, could feel the tension radiating from her crew. Everything hinged on this moment, whether the galaxy's two most powerful factions could overcome millennia of hatred long enough to try something new. Finally, Darth Arctus spoke. A week of my time to avoid decades of conflict? I can afford that expense. The Sith Empire will send representatives to your summit, Captain Janeway, though I warn you, if this is a Jedi trap, the consequences will be severe. It's not a trap, Janeway assured him. Master Vren. The Jedi Master looked like he'd bitten into something sour. The Council will need to deliberate. I cannot make this decision alone. You have 12 hours, Janeway said firmly. After that, I begin my tour of the independent systems. Your choice, Master Vren. Peace or prolonged war, light or dark. Choose. The transmission cut off, leaving Voyager's bridge in charged silence. Tom Paris was the first to speak. Captain, did we just threaten to start our own faction in a galactic war? We threatened to give the galaxy a third option, Janeway corrected. That's whether that becomes a faction or a path to peace. Depends on what happens in the next 12 hours. Chakotay ran a hand over his face. Catherine, even if they agree to meet, you realize we're putting ourselves directly in the crossfire. If these negotiations fail, if they fail, we're no worse off than we are now, Janeway interrupted. But if they succeed, 7, what are the statistical probabilities then? 7 of 9's ocular implant flickered as she calculated. If both factions agree to negotiate in good faith, Probability of achieving ceasefire increases to 41%. Probability of lasting peace remains low at 7%. However, probability of reducing casualties by significant margins rises to 73%. 73% fewer people dying, the doctor repeated softly. That's worth the risk. Janeway looked at her crew, at the faces of people who'd followed her through impossible situations for 7 years, who'd trusted her judgment even when it seemed insane, who'd become more than a crew, more than colleagues. They'd become family. It is worth the risk, she agreed, and we're going to make it work. Harry, start preparing the ship for diplomatic operations. We'll need conference facilities, security protocols, and communication systems that can't be compromised by either side. B'Elanna, work with Tuvok on defensive measures. If someone tries to sabotage these negotiations, we need to be ready. 7. Compile everything we have on neutral systems in this galaxy. We need to know who to invite and how to approach them. Captain, Tuvok said, if I may make a suggestion. Go ahead. We should also invite the Mandalorians. Every head on the bridge turned to stare at the Vulcan. Tuvok raised an eyebrow at the attention. The Mandalorians are a warrior culture with significant military capabilities who are currently neutral in the Jedi-Sith conflict. Their presence would add credibility to our coalition and provide additional security against potential sabotage attempts. The Mandalorians also hate the Jedi for historical reasons, Chakotay pointed out. Having them at the table might escalate tensions rather than reduce them. Or it might force both sides to confront the consequences of their actions, Janeway mused. Tuvok's right. If we're doing this, we do it properly. We include everyone who has a stake in ending this war, even if that makes the negotiations more complicated. She moved to the center of the bridge, looking out at the stars of this alien galaxy. Somewhere out there was a way home, a path back to the Alpha Quadrant and the Federation they'd left behind. But they couldn't take that path. Not yet. Not while they had the power to make a difference here. The Prime Directive had always been about not interfering in the natural development of civilizations. But there was nothing natural about this war. It was a millennia-old cycle of violence, perpetuated by ancient grudges and philosophical rigidity. Breaking that cycle wouldn't be interference. It would be offering a hand to drowning people. 12 hours, she said quietly. In 12 hours, we'll know if this galaxy is ready for peace or if we'll have to create our own path. Until then, we prepare for both possibilities. As her crew scattered to their assignments, Chakotay remained at her side. You know, he said conversationally, when we left Earth all those years ago, I never imagined we'd end up trying to broker peace in an alternate reality between space wizards and dark sorcerers. Janeway smiled despite the weight of what they were attempting. Where's your sense of adventure, Commander? This is just another Tuesday in the Delta Quadrant. This is the old Republic galaxy. Same principle. Impossible situation, minimal resources, crew depending on us to pull off a miracle. We've done it before. We'll do it again. And if the Jedi refuse to negotiate? Janeway's smile faded, replaced by the iron determination that had carried Voyager through 7 years of crisis. Then we show this galaxy what the Federation stands for. We build our coalition. We arm the neutral systems. We prove that there's always a third option, even when everyone else has given up looking for it. Somewhere in the Republic capital, the Jedi Council debated. Somewhere in Sith space, Darth Arctus calculated angles and advantages. And on countless worlds caught between two empires, ordinary people went about their lives hoping to survive another day of someone else's war. In 12 hours, everything would change. Captain Catherine Janeway intended to make sure it changed for the better. without using the transporter, and our sensors didn't detect them until they were already here. Janeway was through the door and on the bridge in seconds, her hand instinctively moving toward where her phaser would be if she'd been wearing it. What she found was a small, ancient figure, standing calmly in the center of her bridge, leaning on a gnarled walking stick and regarding her crew with eyes that had seen civilizations rise and fall. Master Yoda. "How did you get on my ship?" Janeway demanded, trying to project authority while simultaneously wondering how an 800-year-old Jedi Master had bypassed every security system Voyager possessed. "The Force, Captain," Yoda replied simply. "Many abilities it grants. Travel through space without ships, one of them is, though exhausting, I admit." He settled onto the deck with a slight sigh, his ears twitching with what might have been amusement. Dramatic entrance, perhaps too much, it was, but necessary, your attention to get. Tuvok had his phaser trained on the Jedi Master, though his expression suggested he doubted its effectiveness. "Captain, his sudden materialization suggests teleportation capabilities we did not anticipate. Our shields appear ineffective against force-based translocation." "Shields designed for energy and matter, they are," Yoda confirmed. "The Force, neither it is. Through such barriers it passes when wielded with sufficient skill." 7 of 9's tricorder was already scanning, her Borg implants processing data streams at impossible speeds. "Captain, I am detecting massive energy fluctuations in Master Yoda's cellular structure. The midi-chlorian concentrations in his system exceed any we've previously measured by a factor of 12. He is essentially a living conduit for the energy field that permeates this galaxy." "Flattering, young one's analysis is," Yoda said with a slight smile, "though uncomfortable being scanned like a science experiment feels." Janeway gestured for Tuvok to lower his weapon. If Yoda had wanted to harm them, he could have done so before announcing his presence. "Master Yoda, I assume you're here about the summit." "Correct, you are. The Council has deliberated. Difficult, the decision was. Much disagreement there remains." Yoda's expression grew serious. "But convince them I have. Attend your summit, the Jedi will. Representatives we shall send, including myself." Relief flooded through Janeway, though she kept her expression neutral. "That's excellent news, Master Yoda. When can we expect—" "Conditions there are," Yoda interrupted, his ancient eyes boring into hers. "The Jedi will attend, yes, but trust you fully, we do not. Proven yourself you have not. Capable you are. Powerful, certainly, but wise, patient, able to navigate the complexities of galactic politics without making catastrophic mistakes. This, the unknown it remains." Chakotay stepped forward, his diplomatic training asserting itself. "Master Yoda, Captain Janeway has led this crew through 7 years of impossible circumstances. Her judgment has kept us alive against threats you can't imagine. If anyone can navigate complex politics, it's her." "The Borg you survived," Yoda acknowledged. "Species 8472. The Q continuum. Yes, aware of your journey I am. The Force whispers secrets to those who listen." He turned his gaze back to Janeway. "But surviving, not the same as thriving it is. Not the same as building lasting peace. One crisis to another you moved, always seeking home. Always temporary your solutions were. Here different it must be. Here lasting change you seek to create. Certain you are ready for this burden you are." The question cut deeper than Janeway wanted to admit. Yoda was right. Every crisis in the Delta Quadrant had been about survival, about getting through to the next day, the next light year, the next step closer to home. They'd never stayed long enough anywhere to see the long-term consequences of their actions. They'd helped civilizations and moved on. never knowing if those helps had truly mattered. "I'm not certain of anything, Master Yoda," Janeway admitted, "except that doing nothing while trillions die would be worse than trying and failing. You've lived for 800 years. You've seen countless wars, endless suffering. Are you certain that continuing the conflict is better than risking a new approach?" Yoda's ears drooped slightly, and for a moment the ancient Jedi looked every one of his 8 centuries. "Certain of nothing I am anymore, Captain. Once clear the path seemed. Light versus dark, Jedi versus Sith. Simple, it appeared. But simplicity, an illusion it was. Complex the galaxy is, shades of gray there are, and tired I grow of sending younglings to war." The vulnerability in his voice was startling. This wasn't the confident Jedi Master dispensing wisdom. This was an ancient being worn down by centuries of conflict, questioning everything he'd built. "Then help me," Janeway said quietly. "Help me find a better way. You have the wisdom of 8 centuries. I have a perspective from outside this galaxy. Together, maybe we can see solutions that neither of us could find alone." Yoda studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Perhaps, Captain, why the Force brought you here this is. Not to fight our war, but to end it." He straightened, some of his usual energy returning. "But first, survive the summit we must. And easy that will not be." "What do you mean?" Chakotay asked. "Politics Captain Janeway understands," Yoda replied. "But Sith politics? Dark, twisted, full of betrayal they are. Darth Arctus agreed too quickly to your proposal. Suspect him, I do. A plan he has beyond simple negotiation." "Of course he has a plan," Tom Paris muttered from the helm. "The real question is what—" The ship rocked violently, alarms screaming as systems across Voyager reported simultaneous failures. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing the bridge in red as consoles sparked and crew members fought to maintain their stations. "Report!" Janeway barked, gripping her command chair. Harry Kim's fingers flew across his console, his voice tight with controlled panic. "Captain, we're being hit with some kind of electromagnetic pulse. But it's not coming from outside. It's internal. Something on the ship is generating massive interference across all our systems." "The Sith infiltrator we captured," 7 of 9 stated, already moving toward her station. "He must have been equipped with a delayed activation device. Captain, the pulse is disrupting our antimatter containment fields. If they collapse—" "I know what happens," Janeway cut her off. "The entire ship would detonate with the force of dozens of photon torpedoes." "B'Elanna, get to engineering. Stabilize those containment fields now." B'Elanna's voice came back over the comm, strained with effort. "I'm trying, Captain, but the pulse is targeting our power distribution network. It's like whoever designed this knew exactly how our systems work." Tuvok's security console flashed urgently. "Captain, say the force field containing the Sith prisoner has failed. He is no longer in the brig. Deck-by-deck sensor sweep shows. Captain, there are now 6 Sith infiltrators on board. They were using some form of force-based concealment that our sensors could not penetrate. They've been hiding on my ship since the first attack," Janeway realized with cold fury, waiting for the right moment to strike. Master Yoda's lightsaber ignited with a snap hiss, bathing the bridge in green light. Sensed them, I did not. Powerful their concealment was, dark side techniques, ancient and forbidden. He closed his eyes briefly, extending his awareness. The bridge they approach. 6 Sith assassins, trained to kill Force users. For me, they come. "And they'll have to go through us first," Janeway declared. "Tuvok, arm all personnel. 7. You get our shields back online, internal and external. Tom, the moment you have helm control, get us moving. A stationary target is a dead target." "Captain," Chakotay said urgently, pulling up a tactical display, The external situation just got worse. I'm reading hyperspace signatures, multiple vessels dropping out all around us. Republic and Sith fleets, and they're both moving into attack positions. The view screen flickered to life, showing a scene from a strategic nightmare. 20 Republic warships on one side, 15 Sith vessels on the other, and Voyager caught directly in the middle, with failing systems and assassins prowling her corridors. Master Windu's face appeared on one side of the split screen, Darth Arctus on the other. Both looked grimly satisfied. "Captain Janeway," Master Windu said, his voice carrying the weight of judgment, "our intelligence detected a Sith strike team boarding your vessel. We are here to assist. Stand down your shields and allow us to transport Jedi security forces aboard." "How convenient," Darth Arctus purred from his screen, "that the Jedi detected this threat so quickly, almost as if they were monitoring the situation, waiting for an opportunity to seize control of the Federation vessel while appearing to offer aid. Captain, the Sith Empire also offers assistance. Our forces are equipped to counter Jedi manipulation." "You sent those assassins," Master Windu accused. "Typical Sith treachery. Sabotage the summit before it can begin." "I did no such thing," Darth Arctus replied smoothly, "though I note that Jedi arrived with an entire fleet mere minutes after the sabotage began." "Suspicious timing, wouldn't you say?" Janeway's mind raced through the tactical situation. Both sides claiming to help, both probably lying, both definitely trying to use the crisis to gain control of Voyager. The assassins could be Sith, but they could just as easily be a false flag operation by the Jedi to justify intervention, or a third party trying to prevent the summit entirely. The only certainty was that her ship was dying and her crew was under attack. "Captain!" B'Elanna's voice over the comm was nearly lost in the sound of weapons fire. "The Sith are in engineering. They're trying to manually breach the warp core containment. We've got maybe 5 minutes before—" The transmission cut off in a burst of static. Janeway's decision came with the clarity of absolute necessity. "Master Windu, in Darth Arctus, both of you can take your offers of assistance and shove them out an airlock. We're handling this ourselves. If either fleet fires on my ship, I will interpret it as an act of war and respond accordingly. Voyager out." She cut the transmission before either could respond. "Tuvok, deploy security teams to engineering. Authorization Janeway Omega-7, break out the TR-116 rifles." Chakotay's eyes widened. "The kinetic weapons? Catherine, those are designed for use in dampening fields where phasers won't function. And they'll work just fine against Force users who can deflect energy weapons," Janeway finished. "The Sith are expecting phasers and plasma weapons. Let's surprise them with old-fashioned projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. 7. I need you to locate every Sith infiltrator on this ship. Use every sensor, every algorithm, every Borg technique you know." 7's hands moved across her console with inhuman precision, adapting sensors to detect force-based concealment. The energy signatures are subtle but present. I am detecting 6 individuals attempting to mask their presence across multiple decks. Locations transmitting to security teams now. Master Yoda moved toward the turbolift, his ancient frame somehow conveying deadly purpose despite his size. "Help your crew, I will. These assassins trained to kill Jedi they are, but fight alone they expect me to. Surprised they will be when aided by Federation technology, I am." "Master Yoda," Janeway called after him, "try not to cut through any critical systems with that lightsaber. See, we're already dealing with enough damage." The Jedi Master's ears twitched with what might have been amusement. "Careful, I shall be. 800 years old I am. Clumsy, I am not." As Yoda disappeared into the turbolift, another explosion rocked the ship. Harry Kim's console erupted in sparks, forcing him to roll away from his station. Tom Paris fought with the helm controls, his usual cocky demeanor replaced by intense concentration. "Captain, I've got partial maneuvering thrusters, but the main impulse engines are offline. We're sitting ducks if either fleet decides to open fire." "Then we make sure they don't," Janeway replied. She opened a ship-wide comm channel. "This is the captain. All hands, battle stations. We have Sith infiltrators on board attempting to sabotage the ship and hostile fleets on all sides, waiting for an excuse to attack. This is what we do. We survive. We've faced the Borg. We've faced Species 8472. We've faced 7 years of impossible odds. 6 assassins and some territorial posturing don't scare us. Security teams neutralize the Sith. Engineering stabilize the core. Bridge crew get us mobile and defended. We are Starfleet. We don't give up. We don't give in. And we sure as hell don't let anyone take our ship. Janeway out." The response came immediately. Updates from across Voyager as her crew rallied with the determination that had carried them through 7 years of crisis. Tuvok's security teams were engaging the Sith on multiple decks. B'Elanna had stabilized the antimatter containment fields, buying them time. Harry Kim managed to reroute power to shields through backup systems. On the view screen, Janeway watched as both Republic and Sith fleets held position, neither willing to make the first move while their infiltration efforts played out. They were waiting to see who would win, who would claim Voyager and her technology. "Captain," 7 of 9 reported, "I am detecting unusual energy patterns in the Sith fleet formation. Multiple vessels are charging weapon systems, but the target solutions do not correspond to Voyager's position. They are targeting the Republic vessels. The Republic fleet is doing the same in reverse," Chakotay added, reading his own tactical displays. "Captain, I think both sides are about to turn this into a shooting match, with us in the middle." Before Janeway could respond, her ready room door exploded inward in a shower of sparks and twisted metal. A figure clad in black armor rolled through the opening, red lightsaber igniting even as they moved. The Sith assassin was fast, inhumanly fast, their blade sweeping toward Janeway's position with killing intent. Chakotay threw himself between them, his hand finding a phaser that someone had left on a nearby console. The shot went wide as the Sith deflected it casually with their lightsaber, the blade consuming the energy beam and redirecting it into the ceiling. Then the assassin jerked backward, their eyes widening in shock. They looked down at the hole that had appeared in their chest armor, a neat, circular perforation that had punched through their force-enhanced defenses like they were paper. Tuvok lowered the TR-116 rifle, smoke still curling from its barrel. "Kinetic weapons," he observed calmly, "have the advantage of moving slower than light, making them impossible to sense through the Force until impact occurs. Fascinating." The Sith crumpled, their lightsaber deactivating as they collapsed, but 3 more came through the ruined doorway immediately after, moving with coordinated precision that spoke of years training together. One raised their hand, and lightning erupted from their fingertips, not at the crew but at the ship's power conduits. Explosions blossomed across the bridge as critical systems overloaded. "They're trying to disable the ship completely," Harry Kim shouted over the chaos. Tom Paris was suddenly standing, a phaser rifle in his hands despite his position at the helm. He fired twice, both shots deflected by lightsaber-wielding assassins who were already moving to flank them. "Captain, hate to add to our problems, but the Republic and Sith fleets just opened fire on each other. We've got plasma torpedoes and turbo laser fire filling the space around us." The ship rocked as the shockwave from a nearby explosion hit their shields. On the view screen, Republic and Sith vessels exchanged devastating volleys of fire, their ancient hatred finally boiling over into open combat. with Voyager caught in the crossfire. 7 of 9's voice cut through the chaos with Borg efficiency. "Captain, emergency power is failing. Shields are collapsing. We have less than 2 minutes before we are exposed to the ongoing battle." One of the Sith assassins was chanting something in a language Janeway didn't recognize, the dark energy gathering around their hands. The temperature on the bridge dropped precipitously, frost forming on consoles as the Sith drew heat from the air itself to fuel their attack. Master Yoda's voice crackled over the comm from engineering. "Captain, defeated the assassins here, we have. But dark ritual they completed before falling. The warp core destabilizing it is B'Elanna, trying to counter it she is. But force energy, not technology, with it we fight." Janeway's tactical mind processed the cascading crisis with the clarity that came from years of command under impossible circumstances. They had minutes before the core breached. Shields were failing with hostile fleets on all sides. Sith assassins on the bridge were preparing to kill them all with dark side techniques that ignored conventional defenses. "7, she said with sudden inspiration. "The Borg fought Force users before. Species 10,026. How did they counter Force abilities?" 7's ocular implant flickered as she accessed ancient Borg records. The collective used overwhelming numbers and adaptive shields that responded to midi-chlorian energy signatures. However, we eventually determined that the most effective countermeasure was... Her eyes widened fractionally. Electromagnetic disruption targeted at the specific frequency of midi-chlorian cellular activity. It does not harm the host organisms, but temporarily disrupts their ability to channel force energy. "Can you generate that frequency?" "If I can access the deflector array and route sufficient power..." 7's hands flew across her console. "Yes, but Captain, the field would affect Master Yoda as well." "Tell him to brace," Janeway ordered. "Do it now." 7 of 9's fingers moved with inhuman speed as she reprogrammed Voyager's main deflector to emit a precisely calibrated electromagnetic pulse. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The Sith assassins on the bridge stumbled as if they'd been physically struck. The dark energy gathering in their hands dissipated. One tried to hurl force lightning and produced only harmless sparks. Their expressions shifted from confident superiority to sudden visceral fear, the fear of warriors who'd just lost their primary weapons. Tuvok didn't hesitate. His TR-116 rifle barked 3 times and 3 Sith fell, their conventional armor offering no protection against hypersonic projectiles. 7, how long can you maintain that field? Janeway demanded. Approximately 40 seconds before power reserves are depleted. Captain, I am also detecting that the field is affecting the dark ritual in engineering. The force energy destabilizing the warp core is dissipating. B'Elanna's voice came over the comm, breathless with relief. Captain, whatever 7 just did, it worked. The core is stabilizing. We've got containment back. Captain, Chakotay said urgently, pointing to the view screen, look at the fleets. The Republic and Sith vessels had stopped firing. On both sides, the Force users commanding those ships were experiencing the same sudden disconnect from their abilities that had struck down the assassins. Ships were losing coordination, breaking formation, some even drifting as their Force-enhanced navigation systems failed. And in the confusion, the Voyager sat at the center of a battlefield that had suddenly gone quiet. Harry, open a channel to all vessels, Janeway ordered. Maximum broadcast range. Channel open, Captain. Janeway stood, looking at the fleets that had been locked in mutual destruction moments before. This is Captain Janeway of Voyager. As you've just experienced, we have the capability to neutralize Force users within a significant radius of our ship. We didn't want to use this technology. We believe the Force is a natural part of your galaxy, and interfering with it is ethically questionable. But you forced our hand." She let that sink in for a moment before continuing. "Both Republic and Sith fleets cease fire immediately and withdraw to a minimum distance of 10,000 kilometers. You have attempted to capture my ship, sabotage my systems, and turn this region of space into a war zone. That ends now. The summit will proceed as planned, on neutral ground, with proper security measures in place. Both sides will send representatives, and if anyone, Jedi, Sith, or anyone else, attempts to interfere again, we will demonstrate exactly how much damage one Federation starship can do when properly motivated." Silence. Then Master Windu's face reappeared on the screen, his expression equal parts angry and shocked. "Captain, you have developed a weapon that can strip Force users of their connection to the Force. Do you understand what you've created? That technology could destabilize the entire galactic order." "Good," Janeway replied coldly. "Maybe your galactic order needs destabilizing. Master Windu, you've had thousands of years to create lasting peace. You've failed. The Jedi and Sith are locked in an endless cycle of violence that's consuming trillions of lives. If the threat of losing your Force abilities is what it takes to get you to the negotiating table, then so be it." Darth Arctus appeared on the other half of the split screen, his yellow eyes gleaming with something that might have been respect. "Brilliant, Captain, absolutely brilliant. You've just made yourself the single most powerful force in the galaxy. Neither Jedi nor Sith can afford to attack you, yet neither can afford to let you leave. You are simultaneously invaluable and intolerable. How very Sith of you." "I'm not Sith or Jedi," Janeway countered. "I'm Starfleet, and Starfleet doesn't run from difficult situations. We solve them. Both fleets will withdraw. Representatives from Republic, Empire, and neutral systems will meet on Voyager in 3 days. We will establish ground rules, security protocols, and an agenda focused on ending this war. Or," her voice hardened, "I will give every independent system in this galaxy the ability to resist Force users. I will arm them with technology that makes Jedi and Sith vulnerable. I will turn your two-sided conflict into something you can't control." "You're threatening to uplift primitive civilizations with advanced weapons," Master Windu stated. "That would be catastrophic." "Not as catastrophic as letting your war continue," Janeway shot back. "Your choice, Master Windu. Negotiate, or watch as the balance of power in this galaxy shifts permanently." The Jedi Master and the Sith Lord exchanged glances across the transmission, two ancient enemies united in their recognition that everything had changed. 3 days, Master Windu finally agreed. "But Captain, know this. What you've started here cannot be undone. You've made yourself a player in forces you don't fully understand." "I understand enough," Janeway replied. "Voyager out." As the fleets began withdrawing, as her crew started damage control, as the reality of what they'd just done settled over the bridge, Chakotay moved to Janeway's side. "Catherine," he said quietly, "we just threatened to destabilize an entire galaxy." "We offered them peace," Janeway corrected. "If that destabilizes their status quo, maybe their status quo deserves to be destabilized." Master Yoda emerged from the turbolift, leaning heavily on his walking stick. The electromagnetic pulse had clearly affected him more than the assassins. His connection to the Force was far deeper, and its temporary severing had been physically painful. "Captain Janeway," he said, his voice carrying a weight of centuries, "changed everything you have. For better or worse, uncertain I am. But necessary, perhaps, it was." He fixed her with his ancient eyes. "Walk a dangerous path, you do now. Between light and dark, you stand. Fall to neither side, you must, or lost everything will be." "I don't intend to fall to any side, Master Yoda," Janeway replied. I intend to show everyone there's a path that doesn't require choosing between extremes." "Hope you are right, I do," Yoda said softly. "Because if wrong you are, the consequences, unimaginable they will be." As the ancient Jedi Master departed to return to Coruscant, as Voyager's crew worked to repair the damage, as the galaxy absorbed the reality that a single ship had just forced both ancient powers to negotiate, Janeway looked at the stars and wondered if they'd just saved this galaxy or doomed it. 3 days until the summit. 3 days to prepare for the most important diplomatic mission of her career. 3 days to prove that the Federation way, reason, cooperation, and refusal to accept false dichotomies could work even here, even now, even in a galaxy that had forgotten how to compromise. She'd gotten her crew through 7 years of the impossible. What was one more miracle? The Grand Coalition. The cargo bay had been transformed into something that would have made the Federation Diplomatic Corps proud. Voyager's crew had worked for 72 hours straight, converting the utilitarian space into a proper conference facility. A circular table dominated the center. No head, no hierarchy, every seat equal. Holographic displays could materialize at any position to present data. Universal translators were integrated into each seat, ensuring perfect communication despite the dozens of languages that would be spoken. And surrounding the entire space, invisible to the naked eye but very present to sensors, was a network of security measures that would make even the most paranoid tactician nod with approval. Captain Janeway stood at the viewport overlooking the bay, watching as delegates began arriving via transporter. The past 3 days had been a whirlwind of diplomacy, threats, negotiations, and careful preparation. She'd contacted 17 independent systems, 12 of which had agreed to send representatives. The Mandalorians had sent word they would attend, along with a warning that if this was a trap, they would burn Voyager to atoms. The Jedi Council was sending Master Yoda, Master Windu, and 3 other council members. The Sith Empire was sending Darth Arctus and 2 other Dark Lords, whose names alone carried weight in galactic politics. "It's really happening," Chakotay said, materializing at her elbow with 2 cups of coffee. He handed her one and she accepted it gratefully. 3 days ago they were trying to kill each other over our heads, and now they're about to sit in the same room. "Under duress," Janeway acknowledged. "Let's not pretend this is some beautiful moment of mutual understanding. They're here because we scared them into it." "Sometimes fear is the beginning of wisdom," Chakotay replied, quoting something his grandfather had told him long ago. "The question is, what comes next?" 7 of 9 approached from her monitoring station, her Borg implants flickering as she processed multiple data streams simultaneously. "Captain, all delegates have been scanned and cleared for weapons. However, I must note that 3 individuals, Masters Yoda and Windu and Darth Arctus, register as containing sufficient force potential to be considered weapons themselves. I recommend activating the midichlorian disruption field as a precautionary measure." "No," Janeway decided after a moment. "If we activate the field, we're telling them we don't trust them. We need them to choose cooperation, not have it forced upon them. Keep the field on standby, ready to activate if things get violent, but let's give them the chance to prove they can have a civil conversation." "A risky decision," Tuvok observed from his security station. "However, logically sound. If we wish to demonstrate that peace is possible, we must extend the opportunity for peaceful interaction." The doctor materialized beside them, his mobile emitter allowing him to move freely throughout the ship. "I've prepared medical supplies for 17 different species physiologies," he reported. "Though I must say, if this summit devolves into violence, I'll be quite cross with everyone involved. I'm a doctor, not a combat medic for a galactic war." "Let's hope it doesn't come to that," Janeway said. She took a final sip of her coffee, straightened her uniform, and prepared herself for what might be the most important hours of her career. All right, let's go make history. The cargo bay fell silent as Janeway entered, every eye turning toward her. The assembled delegates represented a cross-section of galactic civilization that had probably never been in the same room before. Jedi masters in their traditional robes sat uncomfortably close to Sith lords in their dark regalia. Mandalorian warriors in full armor eyed both Force-using factions with barely concealed hostility. Representatives from independent systems, some humanoid, others decidedly not, occupied the spaces between, looking like they couldn't quite believe they were here. "Welcome to Voyager," Janeway began, her voice carrying across the space with the confidence of someone who'd commanded in crisis for 7 years. "Thank you all for coming. I know many of you harbor deep reservations about this gathering. Some of you are ancient enemies. Some of you have never met. Some of you are wondering if this is a trap. Let me address that concern immediately. This is not a trap. This is an opportunity." She activated the holographic display at the center of the table. Images appeared. Worlds burning, fleets clashing, casualty statistics that made even the most hardened warriors in the room shift uncomfortably. "This is what your war looks like from the outside. 12 trillion dead in the past 50 years. My entire species extinct. Planets rendered uninhabitable. Economic systems collapsed. This is the cost of your conflict, and it's accelerating. At current rates, within 2 generations, there won't be enough habitable worlds left to sustain galactic civilization as you know it." Bold words from an outsider, Darth Arctus observed, his yellow eyes gleaming in the display's light. "You've been in our galaxy for less than 2 weeks. What gives you the authority to lecture us about our war?" "I'm not lecturing," Janeway replied evenly. "I'm presenting data, facts. And the fact is, you're all losing. The Republic is losing. The Empire is losing. The independent systems are losing. The only winners are death and destruction. And I refuse to accept that this is inevitable." Master Windu leaned forward, his expression skeptical but not hostile. "Captain, we appreciate your concern, but you don't understand the nature of the conflict. This isn't a territorial dispute or a resource war. This is a fundamental battle between light and darkness, between the preservation of peace and the embrace of tyranny. The Sith cannot be reasoned with." "Cannot or will not?" Janeway challenged. "Master Windu, you say the Sith embrace tyranny. Darth Arctus, you claim the Jedi represent authoritarian control. Both of you are so committed to your philosophical positions that you can't see the possibility of middle ground." "There is no middle ground between light and dark," Master Yoda stated quietly. "The Force itself defines these absolutes. Choose, one must." 7 of 9 stood, her Borg-enhanced voice cutting through the debate with characteristic precision. "Master Yoda, with respect, your assertion is demonstrably false. The Force is an energy field with varying manifestations based on how it is channeled. There is no inherent morality in energy. The morality comes from the wielder's choices." "Spoken like someone who has never felt the Force," Darth Arctus said, though his tone carried more interest than hostility. "The dark side is not simply energy channeled differently. It is power unleashed, passion made manifest. It is freedom from the chains the Jedi wrap around those with Force potential." "Freedom to enslave others," a Mandalorian warrior interjected, her voice harsh through her helmet's vocoder. "I am clan leader Vess of Mandalore. My people know the Sith Empire's freedom. We have fought your slavers, your conquest fleets, your attempts to subjugate our worlds. Do not speak to us of freedom when you deny it to billions." "And the Republic's freedom?" Darth Arctus shot back. How free are the systems forced to accept Jedi oversight? How free are the Force-sensitive children taken from their families before they're old enough to consent? The Jedi speak of protecting the galaxy while building an authoritarian theocracy. Enough! Janeway's voice cut through the escalating argument. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You're so busy defending your positions and attacking each other that you can't see the forest for the trees. Let me ask you all a question. What do you actually want? Silence. Seriously, Janeway continued. Strip away the ideology, the ancient grudges, the philosophical justifications. What is the end state you're fighting for? Master Yoda, what does victory look like to the Jedi? The ancient Jedi Master considered the question carefully. Peace we seek, a galaxy where the dark side does not corrupt, where beings live in harmony with the Force, where Jedi protect without dictating. And is that what you have now? Janeway pressed. You've been fighting the Sith for thousands of years. Has it brought you closer to that peace or further away? Yoda's ears drooped. Further away, perhaps we are. Darth Arctus, same question. What does Sith victory look like? The Sith Lord smiled, showing teeth. A galaxy where strength is rewarded, where passion drives progress, where individuals achieve their full potential without artificial restrictions. An empire of merit, not dogma. And do you believe, Janeway asked, to that constant warfare and the enslavement of conquered populations represents that empire? Darth Arctus's smile faded. The current methods are necessary transitional measures. Once the Jedi Order is dismantled, once their authoritarian infrastructure is removed, true freedom can emerge. So both of you are fighting toward theoretical end states that require the complete destruction of the other side, Janeway summarized. Both of you believe your war is justified as a necessary evil toward a greater good, and neither of you has considered that maybe, just maybe, you're both wrong. Captain, one of the independent system representatives, spoke up. A tall insectoid being whose translator rendered their clicking speech into standard. You speak of us being wrong. Do you claim to be right? No, Janeway replied honestly, where I claim to be asking different questions. Instead of asking, how do we defeat the enemy, I'm asking, what if there didn't have to be an enemy? Instead of, how do we impose our ideology on the galaxy, I'm asking, what if multiple ideologies could coexist? The dark side and light cannot coexist, Master Windu stated flatly. They are opposed by their very nature. Are they? The Doctor interjected, his holographic form appearing beside Janeway. I've been studying your Force for the past week. From a medical and scientific perspective, the light side and dark side aren't opposing forces. They're different expressions of the same energy field. The light side emphasizes serenity and control. The dark side emphasizes passion and power, but neither is inherently good or evil. It's what you do with them that matters. Heresy, one of the other Jedi Masters muttered. Or truth you're uncomfortable hearing, B'Elanna Torres said, stepping forward from where she'd been monitoring the engineering systems. I'm half Klingon. My people value honor, combat, and personal glory, values that sound a lot like what the Sith claim to embrace. But we're also part of the Federation, working alongside Vulcans who suppress emotion and humans who try to balance both. If we can make it work, why can't you? Because you don't have the Force, Darth Arctus replied. You can't understand what it means to feel the dark side calling to you, offering power beyond measure if you'll just let go of restraint. Once tasted, it consumes. And you, Chakotay said, addressing the Sith Lord directly, can't understand what it means to make choices without the Force. We have anger, passion, aggression, all the things you claim the Jedi suppress. But we also have discipline, reason, and empathy. We integrate these aspects of ourselves rather than choosing one over the other. A ripple of discomfort moved through both Jedi and Sith delegates. Janeway recognized the look. It was the expression of people confronting an idea that challenged everything they'd built their identities around. "Captain Janeway," Clan Leader Vess said, her Mandalorian armor gleaming in the cargo bay's lights. "Your words are compelling, but words are cheap. You speak of coexistence, of integration, of ending a millennia-old war. How? Not in theory, in practice. What specific steps do you propose?" This was the moment. Everything had led to this. Janeway brought up a new holographic display, not of destruction, but of construction. Star charts, territorial maps, resource allocations, proposed agreements. "Here's what I propose," Janeway began. "First, immediate ceasefire in all contested territories. Both Republic and Empire pull back to defensible positions, leaving buffer zones between your territories. Those buffer zones become neutral space, governed by a coalition of independent systems, with Voyager providing military support and technological assistance." "You want to divide the galaxy," Master Windu stated. "I want to stop you from destroying it," Janeway corrected. "Second, establishment of diplomatic relations between Republic and Empire. Not friendship, I'm not naive enough to expect that, but formal recognition, ambassadors, communication channels. You don't have to like each other, you just have to talk to each other instead of shooting." "The Sith cannot be trusted with diplomatic recognition," one of the Jedi Council members argued. "They will use any opening to infiltrate and undermine." "And the Jedi cannot be trusted with oversight," Darth Arctus countered. "They will use diplomatic channels to impose their will." "Which is why," 7 of 9 interjected, "Captain Janeway proposes a third-party verification system. Voyager, along with designated neutral observers from independent systems and Mandalorian space, will monitor compliance with agreements. We possess technology that can detect force manipulation, identify treaty violations, and provide objective assessments." "You would make yourselves the ultimate authority," another Sith Lord observed. "Why, how is that different from Jedi or Sith control?" "Because we're temporary," Janeway replied. "And because we don't want control, we want stability long enough for you to build your own peace." Third proposal, establish formal rights for force-sensitive individuals. Jedi agree to stop taking children without parental consent. Sith agree to stop enslaving Force users who don't join their order. Both sides agree that force sensitivity doesn't automatically grant authority or require submission to either faction. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Jedi and Sith delegates erupted in simultaneous protest. "Impossible," Master Windu declared. "Force-sensitive children must be trained young before the dark side can corrupt them." "We do not enslave Force users," Darth Arctus interrupted. "We offer them power." "You offer them corruption and death if they refuse," Clan Leader Vess shot back. "My clan has Force sensitives. We train them ourselves in Mandalorian ways. Neither Jedi nor Sith get to claim them." "And that is your right," Janeway stated firmly, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Every system, every family, every individual should have the right to determine their own relationship with the Force. The Jedi can offer training to those who seek it. The Sith can do the same. But neither gets to claim automatic authority over every Force sensitive in the galaxy." Master Yoda had been silent throughout the debate, his ancient eyes moving from speaker to speaker, absorbing arguments and counter-arguments. Finally, he spoke. "Captain Janeway, challenge us. You do. May challenge everything the Jedi have built for millennia. Dangerous your proposals are, but..." He paused, his gaze settling on the holographic display, showing the war's casualties. perhaps necessary, they also are. Admit, I must, that the current path leads only to more suffering. Try something different, perhaps. We should. Master Yoda, you cannot be seriously considering, Master Windu began. 800 years old I am, Yoda interrupted. Seen the cycle repeat, I have, again and again. War, temporary peace, war again. Always we Jedi believe the next victory will be final. Always we are wrong. Time to try Captain Janeway's path. Perhaps it is. Darth Arctus leaned back in his chair, his expression calculating. The ancient Jedi is wise. The Empire has no interest in endless war. We seek power, yes. But what is power in a galaxy reduced to ash? If Captain Janeway can guarantee the neutral zones remain truly neutral, if she can prevent the Jedi from using diplomatic relations as cover for infiltration, then the Sith Empire will consider a ceasefire. Janeway felt hope surge in her chest, but kept her expression neutral. Consider isn't good enough. I need commitments, real ones. Master Yoda, will the Jedi Council agree to a ceasefire and diplomatic recognition of neutral zones? Yoda closed his eyes, seemingly consulting with the Force itself. Agree, I do. Bring the proposal to the full council, I shall. Resistance there will be, but my authority, sufficient it is. Darth Arctus? The Sith Empire agrees in principle. I will need to consult with the Dark Council. See, but I can promise we will honor a ceasefire while negotiations continue. And the independent systems? Janeway turned to the assembled representatives. Will you form a coalition? Work together to govern the neutral zones and serve as a buffer between Republic and Empire. The insectoid representative who'd spoken earlier clicked thoughtfully. We have been divided, competing for resources and survival, while the great powers warred around us, but united under Voyager's protection and with access to your technology. Yes, we will form your coalition. Others murmured agreement. Not everyone. Some delegates remained skeptical, some outright hostile to the idea, but a majority was forming, a consensus emerging from the chaos. Clan leader Vess stood, her presence commanding despite her relatively small stature. Mandalore will join your coalition, Captain Janeway, but we have a condition. We want access to your anti-Force technology, not to attack Force users unprovoked, but to defend ourselves if either Jedi or Sith break faith. Before Janeway could respond, both Jedi and Sith delegates erupted in protest. You cannot arm them with weapons designed to neutralize Force users, Master Windu declared. That technology would destabilize the entire Galactic Order. Darth Arctus agreed, a rare moment of Jedi-Sith unity. Exactly, Janeway replied calmly. That's precisely the point. Right now, Force users hold disproportionate power. That power imbalance is part of what perpetuates this conflict. If non-Force users have the means to defend themselves, it levels the playing field. It makes diplomacy necessary rather than optional. You would remove the Force from galactic politics, Master Yoda said, his expression unreadable. I would remove the ability to use the Force as an automatic trump card, Janeway corrected. The Force itself isn't going anywhere, but the assumption that Force users automatically deserve positions of authority and power, that needs to change. Tuvok stepped forward, his Vulcan logic adding weight to Janeway's argument. From an objective standpoint, the concentration of political and military power in the hands of Force-sensitive individuals has created an unstable system. The Jedi and Sith represent less than 0.0001% of the galactic population, yet they control the majority of political decisions through their influence over their respective governments. Now, this is not sustainable. You speak of stripping us of our heritage, one of the Sith Lords growled. The Force is our right, our power. And it will remain so, Janeway interrupted. But rights come with responsibilities. The responsibility not to abuse power over those without it. The responsibility to seek consent rather than impose will. The responsibility to recognize that being powerful doesn't make you right. The cargo bay fell into silence as delegates absorbed the implications of what was being proposed. This wasn't just a ceasefire, it wasn't just diplomatic recognition. It was a fundamental restructuring of galactic power dynamics, a shift from force user dominance to a more balanced system where technology and collective action could counter individual force abilities. Captain Janeway, the insectoid representative said slowly, "You realize what you're proposing would make you the most powerful individual in the galaxy? With control of anti-force technology and the backing of independent systems, you could dictate terms to both Republic and Empire." "Which is why I won't be staying," Janeway replied, surprising everyone in the room. "My crew and I are looking for a way home, back to our own galaxy, our own reality. Once we establish this coalition, once the ceasefire holds, once diplomatic channels are functioning, we're leaving. We'll provide the technology to defend the neutral zones, train personnel in its use, and then we're gone." "You would give us this power and simply leave?" Darth Arctus asked, suspicion evident in his voice. "By what do you gain?" "A galaxy at peace instead of at war," Janeway said simply. "The knowledge that we made a difference. The ability to go home without feeling like we abandoned people who needed help. Call it the Federation way. Call it naive idealism. Call it whatever you want. But that's the deal." Chakotay moved to Janeway's side, his support unspoken but solid. "We're not conquerors. We're not interested in ruling anyone. We just want to leave this place better than we found it." Master Yoda's ears twitched, his ancient face creasing into something that might have been a smile. "Believe you, I think I do. But know this, Captain, what you start here cannot be undone. Change the galaxy forever you will. For better or worse, your legacy this will be." "I can live with that," Janeway replied. "Can you? All of you?" She looked around the room, meeting the eyes of Jedi Masters and Sith Lords, Mandalorian warriors and independent system representatives. "Can you put aside millennia of hatred long enough to try something different? Can you accept that maybe your way, both of your ways, hasn't worked and it's time for something new?" The silence stretched. In that moment, Janeway felt the weight of history pressing down. Thousands of years of conflict, trillions of lives lost, entire civilizations destroyed. One answer, one decision could change everything, or doom them all. Finally, it was Master Yoda who spoke. "Try we shall. Agree to cease fire, the Jedi Council will. Recognize neutral zones, we shall. Work with independent coalition, we will attempt. But Captain Janeway, succeed, this must. Fail, if we do, worse than before things will be." "Agreed," Darth Arctus said. "The Sith Empire will honor the ceasefire and participate in your coalition experiment. But Captain, cross us, betray this trust, and we will demonstrate why the Sith have survived for millennia. We are not the Jedi. We do not forgive." "Understood," Janeway replied. "Then we have an agreement. Ceasefire in contested territories effective immediately. Establishment of neutral zones governed by independent coalition. Diplomatic relations between Republic and Empire. And most importantly, a commitment to trying to solve conflicts through dialogue before resorting to violence." She brought up a holographic document, a formal treaty she'd spent the past 3 days drafting with Seven's help. "This is the framework. Take it back to your respective governments. Get formal ratification. We reconvene in 1 week to finalize details and begin implementation." As delegates began examining the treaty terms, debating clauses, and negotiating specific provisions, Janeway felt Chakotay's hand on her shoulder. "You did it," he murmured. "You actually got them to agree." "To try," Janeway corrected. "They agreed to try. Now comes the hard part, making it work." She looked at the assembled delegates, at former enemies engaged in actual negotiation rather than combat, at independent systems finding their voice, at the possibility of peace emerging from millennia of war. They had 3 more sections to their journey, 3 more challenges before this story reached its conclusion. But for now, in this moment, something impossible had become possible. A galaxy was learning to hope again. And Captain Catherine Janeway of the Federation starship Voyager had shown them the way. The Battle of the Ancient Forge. The treaty lasted 6 days. Captain Janeway was in her ready room, reviewing supply requisitions for the Independent Coalition when the alarm klaxons shattered the night cycle calm. She was on the bridge in seconds, still in her robe, to find her senior staff already assembled and the view screen displaying something that made her blood run cold. "Report," she commanded, dropping into her command chair. Harry Kim's fingers flew across his console, his voice tight. "Captain, we're receiving distress signals from 17 neutral systems in the buffer zone. They're under attack. Massive fleet movements from deep space, hitting multiple targets simultaneously." "Republic or Sith?" Janeway demanded. "Neither," 7 of 9 replied, her ocular implant flickering as she processed sensor data. "The attacking vessels use technology consistent with both Republic and Sith designs, but their energy signatures don't match either faction's current fleet registries. Captain, these ships are ancient, some dating back over 1,000 years." Chakotay pulled up a tactical display that showed the scope of the assault. "It's coordinated, surgical, and devastating. They're targeting the Coalition's communication hubs, shipyards, and defensive installations. Whoever's doing this knows exactly where to hit to cripple the neutral zones." "I know who's doing this," Janeway said grimly as she recognized the pattern. "Someone who doesn't want peace, someone who benefits from continued war." She opened a channel. "Voyager to Jedi Council and Sith Empire Command. Emergency conference now." Within minutes, the view screen split to show Master Yoda on Coruscant and Darth Arctus in Sith space. Both looked as shocked as Janeway felt. "See the attacks we do," Yoda confirmed, his ancient face grave. "But from us they come not. Swear this, I do. The Jedi Council ordered no military action, honored the ceasefire we have." "The Sith Empire is equally blameless," Darth Arctus stated, though his yellow eyes gleamed with barely suppressed rage. "However, I recognize those ship designs. They're from the ancient Sith fleet, vessels that were supposedly lost during the Great Schism 2 centuries ago." "The Great Schism," Janeway prompted. "A civil war within the Sith Empire," Darth Arctus explained. "A faction of Dark Lords rejected the modern Sith philosophy, claiming we had grown too weak, too willing to negotiate. They vanished into the unknown regions, taking a substantial fleet with them. We assumed they'd destroyed themselves fighting over power, as Sith often do. They've been building strength," 7 of 9 concluded, analyzing the tactical data. "Captain, the fleet composition suggests they've been constructing new vessels using old designs. Estimates indicate a force of approximately 300 warships, smaller than either Republic or Empire forces, but sufficient to devastate the under-defended neutral zones." Master Windu's face appeared on an additional screen. "Captain Janeway, the Jedi Council is prepared to deploy forces to defend the Coalition systems. This attack violates the spirit of the ceasefire." "No," Janeway interrupted. "Absolutely not. The moment Republic fleets enter the neutral zones, the Sith will interpret it as aggression. The ceasefire collapses and we're back to full-scale war. That's exactly what these Sith extremists want. Then what do you propose? Darth Arctus demanded. We sit back and watch as they destroy everything you've built? Janeway's mind raced through tactical scenarios, political implications, and the harsh reality of their situation. The coalition had been established for less than a week. They had minimal defenses, no coordinated fleet, and were relying on Voyager's protection that extended only as far as her single ship could reach. Tuvok, she said quietly, where are these attacks originating from? There has to be a staging area, a base of operations. The Vulcan's fingers moved across his console with practiced efficiency. Tracking hyperspace signatures backward, Captain. All attack vectors trace to a single system in the unknown regions. Coordinates are being transmitted now. 7 of 9 brought up stellar cartography data. The system contains a rogue planet with significant thermal signatures indicating industrial activity. Captain, I am detecting energy readings consistent with a massive construction facility. They are building more ships. An ancient Sith forge world, Darth Arctus breathed, recognition dawning in his expression. The Great Schism faction must have discovered one of the lost forge worlds, automated shipyards built by the ancient Sith Empire. If they've reactivated it, they could build an armada large enough to challenge both Republic and Empire. Then we take it out, Janeway decided. We hit the source, Voyager, accompanied by volunteer forces from both Republic and Empire. They conducts a surgical strike against the Forge world. We destroy their production capacity and eliminate their fleet in a single engagement. You want Republic and Sith forces to fight together? Master Windu's skepticism was evident. Captain, our military doctrines are incompatible. Our tactics would conflict. It would be chaos. Then you'll learn to coordinate, Janeway replied flatly, because the alternative is letting these extremists destroy the peace and plunge the galaxy back into war. Master Yoda, Darth Arctus, can you set aside your differences long enough to face a common enemy? The Jedi Master and Sith Lord exchanged glances across the transmission, ancient enemies evaluating whether cooperation was possible. The enemy of my enemy, Darth Arctus mused, is occasionally useful. Very well, Captain. I will personally lead Sith forces in this operation, but I want your word that this is a limited engagement. We destroy the Forge, eliminate the threat, and both sides return to their territories. Agree, I do, Yoda said. But one condition, Captain Janeway commands the joint operation, neither Jedi nor Sith in overall command. Neutral authority, necessary it is. Janeway felt the weight of command settle even more heavily on her shoulders. Understood. I'll coordinate the attack. Tuvok, start developing a battle plan. 7. I want full intelligence on that Forge world. Defenses, capabilities, weaknesses. Harry, get me communication links to Republic and Sith fleet commanders who will be participating. We have, she checked the chronometer, 12 hours to plan and execute this operation before the extremist fleet regroups and launches their next wave of attacks. Captain, B'Elanna's voice came over the comm from engineering. If we're going up against a Sith Forge world, we'll need every advantage we can get. I can recalibrate our weapons to maximum yield, but that means depleting our antimatter reserves. If things go bad, we might not have enough power to escape. Then we make sure things don't go bad, Janeway replied with more confidence than she felt. Prepare the ship for combat operations. This is going to be the fight of our lives. 11 hours later, Voyager dropped out of warp at the edge of the unknown regions system, accompanied by a fleet that would have been unimaginable 2 weeks earlier. 20 Republic warships flew in formation with 15 Sith vessels, their ancient enmity temporarily set aside. Mandalorian fighters provided scout support, their distinctive armor gleaming even in the cold light of distant stars. "All ships reporting ready," Harry Kim announced. "Communications network is functioning. Every ship in the fleet can hear your orders, Captain." Janeway stood at the center of her bridge, very aware that hundreds of thousands of lives now depended on her decisions. Through the view screen, she could see the Rogue Planet, a dark sphere lit by the volcanic forges that covered its surface, and surrounding it, like a swarm of metallic insects, were the extremist Sith fleet. "Sensor analysis," she commanded. 7 of 9's report was delivered with Borg precision. 273 warships defending the Forge world, ground-based planetary shields protecting the production facilities, multiple weapons platforms in orbital positions. Captain, their defensive posture suggests they were expecting us. Of course they were. Darth Arctus's voice came over the comm from his flagship. They wanted this confrontation. They want to prove that cooperation between light and dark is impossible, that war is the only truth. We'll prove them wrong. "Master Yoda," Janeway said, "are your forces ready?" "Ready, we are. Though strange it feels fighting alongside Sith, but necessary it is." "Proceed, Captain." Janeway took a breath, then opened a fleet-wide channel. "All ships, this is Captain Janeway. Today we face an enemy that wants to drag the galaxy back into endless war. They believe hatred and conflict are inevitable. They're wrong. Republic and Empire, Jedi and Sith, independent systems and Mandalorian clans. Today we stand together, not because we agree on everything, not because we've forgotten our differences, but because we all recognize that some threats require unity to overcome." She paused, letting her words sink in across dozens of ships and thousands of warriors. "The plan is simple. Voyager will lead a spearhead formation directly at the Forge world. We'll draw their fleet into engagement while Republic forces attack from the flank and Sith forces strike from above. Mandalorian fighters will target their orbital weapons platforms. Once we've created an opening, so Voyager will punch through their shields using our directed energy weapons and deploy teams to sabotage the Forge itself. A frontal assault, one of the Republic commanders noted. Bold, perhaps too bold. Boldness is required, a Sith captain countered. Half measures will fail against an entrenched enemy. Tuvok brought up tactical projections. Captain, statistical analysis suggests a 67% casualty rate if we proceed with this plan. Then we'll be in the 33% who survive, Tom Paris said from the helm, his hands already moving across the controls with practiced confidence. "Ready when you are, Captain." Janeway settled into her command chair. "All ships, battle stations, execute on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark." Voyager's impulse engines flared to life, pushing the Federation starship forward at maximum sublight speed. Behind her, the combined fleet moved in coordinated formations that would have been impossible without the communication network Harry Kim had established. Republic vessels formed a disciplined line, their turbo-laser batteries charging. Sith warships adopted more aggressive attack patterns, their fighters launching in deadly swarms. The extremist Sith fleet responded immediately. Hundreds of vessels broke orbit, moving to intercept. Red and green energy bolts filled the space between the fleets as the first volleys were exchanged. "Shields holding," Harry reported as Voyager took several direct hits. "But Captain, those are heavy weapons. Our shields won't hold indefinitely." "They don't need to hold indefinitely," Janeway replied. "Just long enough. Tuvok, target their command ship, the largest vessel in the center of their formation. Full phaser spread." Orange beams lanced out from Voyager, striking the extremist flagship with devastating precision. The Federation weapons tore through shields, that had been designed to resist turbo lasers and ion cannons, carving deep wounds in the ancient vessel's hull. "All ships concentrate fire on the flagship," Janeway commanded. "Take it out and their coordination collapses," the combined fleet responded. Republic turbo lasers hammered the flagship from one side, while Sith plasma torpedoes struck from another. The ancient vessel's shields flared, buckled, and failed. Secondary explosions rippled across its hull as ammunition stores detonated. But the flagship didn't die alone. Its dying act was to fire every weapon it possessed at Voyager. "Brace for impact!" Chakotay shouted. The bridge shook violently as dozens of energy weapons struck Voyager's shields simultaneously. Consoles exploded in showers of sparks. The lights flickered. Harry Kim was thrown from his station, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. "Shields down to 23%, 7 of 9 reported. Hull breaches on decks 3, 4, and 7. Casualties reported across multiple sections." "The doctor to all wounded areas," Janeway ordered, even as she fought to stay in her chair. "Damage control teams, seal those breaches. Tom, get us through their line. Use their own ships as cover." Tom Paris's fingers danced across the helm controls with the skill that made him the finest pilot in the quadrant. Voyager dove between two extremist vessels, their weapons fire hitting each other as they tried to track the nimble Federation ship. She rolled, spun, and accelerated through a debris field that would have been impossible to navigate without his instincts. "Republic forces have broken through the flank," Tuvok reported. "They're engaging enemy vessels at close range. Sith forces are executing their vertical assault. The enemy fleet is fragmenting." On the view screen, Janeway watched as the battle devolved into dozens of individual engagements. Republic cruisers traded broadsides with extremist vessels, while Sith fighters darted through the chaos, their pilots' force-enhanced reflexes giving them an edge in the dogfighting. Mandalorian warriors lived up to their legendary reputation, their weapons platforms methodically destroying orbital defenses with precision strikes. But they were taking casualties. Janeway watched in horror as a Republic cruiser took a direct hit to its reactor, the ship simply ceasing to exist in a flash of annihilating energy. A Sith destroyer broke apart under sustained fire, life pods desperately ejecting as the hull fractured. Mandalorian fighters were being picked off by point defense systems despite their skill and bravery. "We're losing too many ships," Chakotay said quietly. "Catherine, if we don't reach that forge soon—" "I know," Janeway replied. "Harry, status on planetary shields?" Harry Kim pulled himself back to his station, wiping blood from his eyes. "They're cycling through a rotation pattern. Every 47 seconds, there's a 3-second window where a small section weakens to allow their own ships to pass through. If we can time it exactly right, we can punch through," Janeway finished. "7, I need you to calculate the precise moment when that window opens and give Tom the coordinates." "Calculating," 7 replied, her Borg implants processing the shield frequencies at speeds no biological mind could match. "Window will open in 32 seconds at coordinates transmitted to helm. Captain, the opening is only 300 meters in diameter. At our current speed, margin for error is less than 0.02 seconds. "No pressure," Tom muttered, but his hands were steady on the controls. "All ships, this is Voyager," Janeway broadcast. "We're making our run at the forge. Keep the enemy fleet off our backs. We'll only get one shot at this." Master Yoda's voice came through, strained with effort as he and other Jedi used the Force to enhance their gunners' accuracy. "Go, you must. Hold them here, we shall. May the Force be with you, Captain." "And with you, Master Yoda." Janeway turned to her helmsman. "Tom, get us through that window." "Aye, Captain. Buckle up. This is going to be close." Voyager accelerated toward the planet, enemy fire chasing them every meter of the way. Shields collapsed to 10%. 5%. The hull began taking direct hits, armor plating vaporizing under the sustained assault. 15 seconds, 7 counted down. 10 seconds, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, now. Tom Paris performed a maneuver that would be studied in Starfleet Academy for decades afterward, if they survived to report it. Voyager rolled 90 degrees, dove at an angle that should have been impossible, and threaded through a 300-meter gap, traveling at thousands of kilometers per second. They cleared the shields with less than 10 meters to spare on either side. And then they were through, racing toward the surface of the Forge world with its volcanic installations and ancient Sith machinery. Tuvok, target the main Forge complex, Janeway ordered. Full photon torpedo spread. Turn that facility into slag. Targeting, Tuvok confirmed, firing. 6 photon torpedoes streaked toward the surface, each containing explosive yields sufficient to level a small city. They impacted in sequence, massive explosions tearing through the Forge complex in a chain reaction of destruction. Molten metal erupted into the atmosphere. Ancient machinery collapsed. The thermal signature that had indicated massive industrial activity began to fade. But the Forge world wasn't defenseless. Ground-based weapons platforms, thousands of them built into the volcanic surface itself, opened fire on Voyager. "Evasive maneuvers!" Janeway commanded as her ship was engulfed in a storm of energy weapons fire. Tom did his best, but there were too many weapons, too much fire coming from too many directions. Voyager shuddered under repeated impacts. Systems failed across the ship. The view screen cracked. Emergency force fields engaged to prevent atmospheric decompression. "Shields are gone," Harry reported, his voice barely audible over the alarms. "Hull plating is failing. Captain, we can't take much more of this." B'Elanna's voice came over the comm, hoarse with desperation. "Engineering to bridge. I've got breaches in the antimatter containment system." "Yeah, we've got maybe 2 minutes before—" "I know," Janeway interrupted. She knew exactly what happened when antimatter containment failed. "Options, people. Give me options." "Captain," 7 of 9 said, her voice carrying an unusual note of urgency, "I am detecting massive power fluctuations in the Forge world's core. Our torpedo strikes have destabilized the geothermal reactors that powered the facility. If the cascade continues, the entire planet will experience catastrophic volcanic eruptions within approximately 90 seconds. Then we need to be somewhere else in 90 seconds, Janeway decided. Tom, get us back through that shield window, now. The window won't open for another 23 seconds, 7 reported. And when it does, we will be on the wrong side of the planet to reach it in time. Janeway's mind raced. 23 seconds until the window, 90 seconds until the planet exploded, 2 minutes until their own antimatter containment failed. The mathematics of survival were working against them unless they changed the equation. B'Elanna, Janeway said with sudden calm, can you give me a controlled antimatter burst, not an explosion, a directed propulsion burst using the impulse engines? There was a pause. Captain, are you asking me to deliberately vent antimatter through the impulse manifolds? That would either blow us to atoms or give us acceleration that would tear the ship apart. Or get us to that shield window in time, Janeway finished. Can you do it? Another pause, longer this time. Then B'Elanna's voice came back, carrying the mix of terror and exhilaration that defined every great engineer facing an impossible problem. It's going to be rough, really rough, but yeah, I can do it. Do it! Everyone, secure stations. This is going to hurt. The next 5 seconds felt like an eternity. Janeway watched the chronometer counting down. Shield window opening in 18 seconds. Planet destabilization in 83 seconds. Antimatter containment failing in 107 seconds. And wondered if this was how it would end. Not in the Delta Quadrant, not in Federation space, but in an alien galaxy trying to prevent a war. Then B'Elanna's voice, "Antimatter burst in 3, 2, 1 now." The universe turned inside out. Voyager didn't accelerate. She was thrown forward like a stone from a slingshot, her inertial dampener screaming in protest as they tried to compensate for forces that exceeded their design specifications. The bridge crew was slammed back into their seats. Console displays went black. The structural integrity field strained to its absolute limit and beyond, the ship's space frame groaning with stress that would have torn a lesser vessel apart. And they moved through the atmosphere at speeds that turned air into plasma, around the curve of the planet in a trajectory that defied physics, toward the shield window that was opening now, right where 7 of 9's calculations had predicted. "We're not going to make it," Tom gasped, fighting with controls that were barely responding. "We're 3 seconds off." "We'll make it," Janeway stated with absolute conviction, "because failure isn't an option. Tom, you're the best pilot I know. Thread that needle." Tom Paris, for all his bravado and cocky attitude, he had never failed Captain Janeway when it mattered. He didn't start now. His hands moved across the helm controls with a precision that transcended conscious thought, guided by instinct honed over thousands of hours at the controls of the fastest ship in Starfleet. Voyager dove through the shield window with microseconds to spare. Behind them, the Forge world's core finally reached critical mass. The planet didn't just explode, it erupted, volcanic fury magnified by the ancient Sith technology that had been buried in its crust for millennia. The explosion was visible from orbit, a sphere of expanding debris and energy that consumed everything nearby, including the remaining extremist fleet. "Enemy vessels destroyed," Tuvok reported, allowing himself a note of satisfaction. "All extremist Sith forces have been eliminated, Captain. We are receiving hails from the Joint Fleet. They are requesting confirmation of your status." Janeway sagged in her chair, adrenaline finally giving way to exhaustion. "Tell them we're alive, battered, barely holding together, but alive." "How many ships did we lose?" Harry Kim consulted his console, his expression grim. 7 Republic cruisers destroyed, 3 more critically damaged. 4 Sith vessels lost, 2 damaged. Mandalorian forces report 37% casualties among their fighter wings. "Captain, we lost a lot of good people today." "But we won," Chakotay added quietly. "We destroyed the Forge and eliminated the extremist threat. The ceasefire holds." On the view screen, Master Yoda's face appeared, the ancient Jedi looking even more worn than usual. "Victorious we are, but costly the victory was. Learn from this. The galaxy must. United we can overcome any threat. Divided only suffering we bring." Darth Arctus appeared on an adjacent screen, his expression unreadable. "The Sith Empire honors its word, Captain Janeway. The extremists are gone. The treaty stands." And he paused, as if the next words were physically difficult to speak. "The Jedi fought well today. Perhaps there is wisdom in your Federation philosophy after all. It wasn't peace, it wasn't friendship, but it was a beginning." Janeway managed a tired smile. "Both of you fought with honor today. Your crews, your warriors, your Force users, they all proved that cooperation is possible. Take that lesson back to your governments. Tell them that when we work together, there's nothing we can't accomplish." As the Joint Fleet began tending to their wounded and recovering escape pods from destroyed vessels, as the galaxy absorbed the reality that ancient enemies had fought side by side and won, Janeway looked at her own battered ship and exhausted crew. They'd survived. They'd won. They'd proven that unity was possible, but the cost had been high. And Janeway knew that the hardest test was still ahead, turning this battlefield cooperation into lasting peace. "B'Elanna," she said into the comm. "How long until the ship is space-worthy again?" "At least 3 days for essential repairs," B'Elanna replied, exhaustion evident in her voice. "Maybe a week before we're back to full operational status. Captain, we pushed Voyager to her absolute limit today. Yet we need time to heal, the ship and the crew." "Then we'll take that time," Janeway decided. "Set course for neutral space. We've earned a rest." As Voyager limped away from the battlefield, surrounded by Republic and Sith escorts who had become temporary allies, Captain Janeway allowed herself to hope they'd fought the battle. Now came the real challenge, winning the peace. A new dawn for the stars. 3 weeks after the Battle of the Ancient Forge, Voyager hung in orbit above a world that hadn't existed in any star charts a month ago. The planet below, designated Coalition Station 1 by the independent systems, was being transformed at a pace that would have impressed even Federation engineers. Prefabricated structures dotted the surface, communication arrays reached toward the sky, and ships from dozens of systems moved in coordinated patterns that spoke of genuine cooperation rather than forced alliance. Captain Janeway stood at the viewport in her ready room, watching the construction through tired eyes. Her crew had spent the weeks since the battle working themselves to exhaustion, repairing Voyager, training coalition forces, mediating disputes between systems that had never communicated before, and then slowly, painstakingly building the infrastructure for lasting peace. "Captain," Chakotay's voice came from the doorway, "the final treaty signing ceremony is ready. All delegates are assembled in the cargo bay." Janeway turned, seeing her first officer and friend looking as worn as she felt. "How's our guest of honor?" "Seven is putting the finishing touches on it now. She says it's the most complex piece of collaborative engineering she's ever attempted." Chakotay smiled. High praise from someone who was part of the Borg collective. "It would have to be complex," Janeway replied. "It represents everything we've been fighting for." She straightened her uniform, took a breath, and headed for the door. "Let's go change the galaxy." The cargo bay had been transformed once again, no longer a conference room but a ceremonial space. Representatives from 23 independent systems stood in formal delegations. Jedi masters in their traditional robes occupied one side, their presence no longer radiating suspicion but cautious optimism. Sith lords in their dark regalia stood opposite, their usual predatory bearing tempered by something Janeway had never expected to see in them: respect. And in the center of it all, displayed on a raised platform, was the device that would ensure this peace lasted. It looked deceptively simple, a sphere approximately 2 meters in diameter, its surface covered in a lattice of Federation technology, Republic energy relays, and Sith power conduits. The engineering marvel represented months of collaborative work between Voyager's crew, Jedi technicians, and even Sith scientists who had agreed to contribute their knowledge. E7 of 9 stood beside it, her presentation holographic and precise. "This device represents the culmination of our joint effort. It is a communication and monitoring network hub, capable of detecting fleet movements, analyzing force disturbances, and providing real-time information to all parties simultaneously. No faction can move military forces without others being immediately aware. Transparency is enforced technologically rather than through trust." More importantly, B'Elanna Torres added from beside 7, "The network includes the midi-chlorian disruption technology as a failsafe. If any faction violates the treaty, if anyone attacks without provocation, the affected systems can activate localized defensive fields that temporarily neutralize force abilities. Not as a weapon, but as an equalizer." A murmur ran through the assembly. Master Windu stepped forward, his expression troubled but accepting. Captain Janeway, you understand what you've created here? This network makes Force users accountable in ways we've never been before. It removes our unilateral authority. That's exactly the point, Master Windu, Janeway replied. Power without accountability is tyranny, whether wielded by Jedi, Sith, or anyone else. This system ensures that Force users remain part of galactic civilization rather than separate from it. Darth Arctus approached the device, his yellow eyes studying it with an intensity that made several Jedi hands drift toward their lightsabers. But he made no threatening move. Fascinating, a weapon that is not a weapon, a leash that both sides wear equally. Captain, I underestimated you. This is not just technology, it's philosophy made manifest. It's what the Federation has always believed, Janeway said. That transparency and mutual accountability are the foundations of peace, not trust. Trust has to be earned, but accountability can be established immediately. Master Yoda limped forward, his walking stick tapping on the deck plating. The ancient Jedi had aged visibly in the past weeks, as though the weight of 800 years was finally catching up to him. Captain Janeway, before we sign this treaty, ask you something I must. The network hub, capable of reaching your home galaxy, is it? The question caught Janeway off guard. What? No, Master Yoda. It's designed for this galaxy's communication needs. The dimensional barriers between universes would require different technology, yes, Yoda interrupted gently. Oh, but the spatial anomalies studied them we have. The data Darth Arctus provided, combined with Jedi Force techniques and your Federation science, a path home we believe we have found. The cargo bay fell completely silent. Every member of Voyager's crew present, Chakotay, Seven, B'Elanna, Tuvok, Tom, Harry, the Doctor, froze, their faces reflecting shock, hope, and disbelief in equal measure. You found a way home? Janeway's voice was barely above a whisper. Are you certain? Darth Arctus produced a data chip. My scientists have been analyzing the energy signatures from your arrival. Combined with Jedi Force manipulation techniques, we believe we can recreate the conditions that brought you here, but in reverse. The Jedi provide the Force component, the Sith provide the dark energy calculations, and your own technology provides the directional control. It would require cooperation between all three parties. Of course it would, Tom Paris said, with a slightly hysterical laugh. Nothing about this place has been simple. Why would going home be any different? Janeway took the data chip with hands that trembled slightly. And you're offering this now, at the treaty signing. Consider it a final gift, Master Yoda said. Grateful we are for what you've done. Changed the galaxy, you have. Time to return to your own home, it is. Earned it, you have. But there's a condition, isn't there? Chakotay observed, his diplomatic instincts sharp as ever. There's always a condition. Not a condition, Darth Arctus corrected. An observation. Captain Janeway, you and your crew have become symbols of what's possible. Your presence here has been the catalyst for unprecedented cooperation. If you leave immediately, there's a risk that old hatreds will resurface, that the coalition will fragment, that everything you've built will collapse. You want us to stay, Janeway realized. Not forever, but long enough to ensure the peace holds. 6 months, Master Windu said. We ask for 6 months. Train coalition forces. Janeway looked at her crew, at faces she'd known for 7 years, at people who'd followed her through impossible circumstances, who'd trusted her judgment even when it seemed insane. They'd been trying to get home for so long. Another 6 months seemed like both an eternity and the blink of an eye. Captain, 7 of 9 said quietly, the decision should be yours. We will support whatever you choose. No, 7, Janeway replied. This affects all of you equally. This crew doesn't follow orders blindly. You follow them because you choose to. So I'm asking, what do you choose? Chakotay spoke first. 6 months to secure a lasting peace? After 7 years in the Delta Quadrant, I can live with that. Agreed, Tuvok added. Logic suggests that abandoning our work prematurely would render our sacrifices meaningless. Plus, Tom Paris said with a grin, I've gotten kind of attached to being the guy who taught a galaxy how to coordinate fleet maneuvers. 6 more months of that? I'm in. B'Elanna nodded. The engineering challenges here are fascinating. And if we're being honest, I want to make sure this network we've built actually works before we leave. One by one, every crew member voiced their agreement, not because they had to, but because they believed in what they'd started. Then we have our answer, Janeway said, turning back to the assembled delegates. Voyager will remain in this galaxy for 6 months. We'll continue supporting the Coalition, training your forces, and ensuring the peace has a chance to take root. After that, we go home, with your help and your blessing. Master Yoda's ears perked up, his ancient face creasing into a genuine smile. Wise you are, patient, qualities of a true Jedi you possess, though Jedi you are not. She possesses qualities of a Sith as well, Darth Arctis observed. Passion for her cause, unwillingness to accept defeat, and the audacity to challenge established order. Perhaps this is what balance truly means, not the victory of light over dark, but the integration of both. Or perhaps, Janeway suggested, it means recognizing that those categories were always too simplistic. People are complex. Civilizations are complex. Reducing everything to binary choices of light versus dark, good versus evil, us versus them, that's what perpetuated your war for millennia. She moved to the treaty document displayed on a holographic interface. This treaty acknowledges that complexity. It doesn't require you to give up your philosophical differences. The Jedi can still pursue the light side. The Sith can still embrace passion and power. But both agree to channel those philosophies through frameworks that respect the rights and autonomy of all beings, force-sensitive or not. Revolutionary, one of the independent system representatives observed, and potentially fragile. What happens when someone inevitably violates this treaty? Then the monitoring network alerts all parties, 7 of 9 explained. The violating faction faces coordinated response from both other major powers and the Coalition. The mathematics are simple. Violation costs more than compliance. Rational actors will choose compliance. And if actors are not rational, a Sith Lord challenged, then they face the combined might of the galaxy, Janeway replied. That's the real innovation here. Not that we've created perfect peace. We haven't and we won't. But we've created a system where aggression by any party triggers unified response. War becomes too expensive. Cooperation becomes the only viable path. Master Windu stepped forward to the treaty interface. Captain Janeway, 7 years ago, you were lost far from home. You could have given up. You could have accepted your circumstances. Instead, you fought to return to your people, while maintaining the principles that defined you. You've done the same thing here. Refused to accept that this galaxy's fate was sealed, insisted there was a better way, and made it happen through sheer determination and brilliant strategy. He placed his hand on the treaty interface, his force signature registering his agreement. The Jedi Council signs this treaty. We commit to its terms and to the coalition it establishes. Darth Arctis approached from the opposite side. The Sith Empire also signs, not because we've abandoned our philosophy, but because we recognize that continued war serves no one's interests. Power means nothing if there's no civilization left to wield it over. His force signature joined Master Windu's on the interface. One by one, the independent system representatives added their signatures: Mandalorian clan leaders, neutral trading consortiums, systems that had been battlegrounds now choosing to be something else. When the last signature was recorded, the holographic interface flared with light, a visual representation of unprecedented unity. "It's done," Chakotay said quietly. "An actual peace treaty between the Republic and the Sith Empire. I'm not sure I believed it would actually happen." "Believing is easy," Janeway replied. "Making it real is the hard part." She turned to address the assembly. "This treaty is a beginning, not an ending. 6 months from now, Voyager will leave. The monitoring network will remain. The coalition will continue. And all of you, Jedi, Sith, independent systems, will have to maintain this peace yourselves. We're giving you the tools, but ultimately you have to choose to use them." Master Yoda tapped his walking stick thoughtfully. "A question, Captain. When you return to your galaxy, your Federation, tell them about us, will you? About what happened here." "Every detail," Janeway confirmed. "The Federation needs to know that peace is possible even between the most entrenched enemies. That cooperation can overcome ancient hatreds. That there's always a third option if you're willing to look for it." "And what will they think," Darth Arctus mused, "of their captain becoming a legend in an alternate reality? The woman who united a galaxy that had forgotten how to compromise." "They'll probably give her a lot of paperwork," Tom Paris quipped, earning a round of laughter that broke the ceremonial tension. As the delegates began departing, as Jedi and Sith exchanged cautious but genuine words of cooperation, as the independent systems representatives started discussing the practical implementation of the treaty, Janeway found herself alone with her senior staff. 6 months, B'Elanna said, "and then we finally go home." "After 7 years, what's 6 more months?" Harry Kim added, though his voice carried an edge of longing. A home had been a dream for so long that the reality of it being within reach felt surreal. 7 of 9 approached Janeway, her expression carrying unusual vulnerability. "Captain, I have been analyzing the probability that I will successfully reintegrate into Federation society. My time as Borg, my enhancements, my differences." "7, Janeway interrupted gently. "You'll be fine, better than fine. You've just helped broker peace between ancient enemies. I think Starfleet can handle 1 former Borg drone." "Besides," the doctor added, his holographic form shimmering with confidence, "I'll be there to provide medical support and witty commentary. How could you possibly fail with me around?" The attempt at humor worked. 7's lips curved into something approaching a smile. Tuvok raised an eyebrow. "Captain, I must note that when we return to Federation space, we will face extensive debriefings. Starfleet Command will want detailed reports on everything that occurred here. The temporal mechanics alone will require months of analysis." "Let them analyze," Janeway replied. "We'll tell them the truth. We found a galaxy at war. We couldn't stand by and watch it destroy itself. And we did what Starfleet officers are supposed to do. We explored, we learned, and we helped where we could." "Some will say we violated the Prime Directive," Chakotay observed. "Some will say we saved trillions of lives," Janeway countered. "I'll take that trade." As her crew dispersed to their various duties, Janeway returned to the viewport, watching Coalition Station 1 taking shape below. The construction represented something unprecedented, not just in this galaxy, but perhaps in any galaxy. A genuine effort at lasting peace built on transparency, mutual accountability, and the rejection of false dichotomies. "Captain, 7 of 9 had remained behind. May I ask a personal question?" "Of course, 7. Do you believe this peace will last? After we're gone, when the monitoring network is the only guarantee of cooperation, do you believe it will be enough?" Janeway considered the question carefully. Honestly, I don't know. Peace is always fragile. It requires constant effort, constant vigilance, and constant choice. But we've given them the foundation. We've shown them it's possible. What they do with that, that's up to them. A logical answer, Seven observed, though I detect a note of uncertainty. Because there should be uncertainty, Janeway replied. Where if I was absolutely certain this would work, that would mean I wasn't considering all the variables. Doubt keeps us honest, Seven. It keeps us questioning, adapting, improving. Seven processed this. The Borg Collective operates on certainty. We were told all actions served the greater goal of perfection. There was no room for doubt. And look where that got them, Janeway said gently. An empire built on assimilation and homogeneity. No growth, no adaptation, no evolution beyond their programming. Seven, doubt isn't weakness. It's what makes us capable of change. I am beginning to understand that, Seven replied. Captain, thank you for rescuing me from the collective, for teaching me about individuality, and for showing me that there are always more options than the obvious ones. Janeway smiled. You're welcome, Seven. And now go help B'Elanna with the network installation. I have a feeling those two are going to argue about power distribution again. As Seven departed, Janeway allowed herself one moment of quiet reflection. They'd done it against impossible odds with limited resources, stranded in an alien galaxy. They'd brokered peace between ancient enemies and built the framework for lasting cooperation. And in 6 months, they'd go home. The thought was both exhilarating and bittersweet. This galaxy had challenged them, tested them, and ultimately shown them what was possible when you refused to accept that things couldn't change. Captain, Tom Paris's voice came over the comm. We're getting long-range sensor readings on one of those spatial anomalies from Darth Arctus's data. It's showing energy signatures consistent with what brought us here. Should I plot a course for analysis? Not yet, Tom, Janeway replied. We have work to do here first. 6 months of work. The anomaly will wait. Aye, Captain. Paris out. Janeway turned away from the viewport, heading back to the bridge. There were training schedules to review, coalition forces to coordinate, and a galaxy to help stabilize. The work was far from over, but they could see the end now. They could see home. 6 months passed with a rhythm that became almost comfortable. Voyager traveled between coalition worlds, training their forces in tactics that could counter Force users, installing monitoring network nodes, and mediating the inevitable disputes that arose when former enemies tried to coexist. The peace held, not perfectly but genuinely. There were violations, challenges, moments when the fragile accord seemed ready to shatter. But each time the monitoring network alerted all parties and coordinated pressure brought the violators back into compliance. The system worked. Slowly, remarkably, the galaxy began to change. Jedi visited Sith academies in carefully monitored exchanges. Sith scholars attended Republic universities. Independent systems flourished in the neutral zones, their economies growing without the constant threat of warfare. Force-sensitive children were trained according to their families' wishes, rather than being automatically claimed by Jedi or Sith. And in the center of it all, Voyager remained, a symbol of what outsiders could accomplish when they refused to accept that change was impossible. Finally, on a clear morning above Coalition Station 1, with delegates from every faction assembled to bid them farewell, Captain Janeway stood on her bridge and prepared to leave the old Republic galaxy forever. All systems are operational, B'Elanna reported. The network is stable and self-sustaining. They don't need us anymore. Course plotted to the spatial anomaly, Tom confirmed. Ready to go home, Captain. Master Yoda appeared on the view screen, his ancient face serene. Thank you, Captain Janeway. Changed this galaxy forever you have. May your journey home be swift and safe. Darth Arctus materialized beside the Jedi Master, an image that would have been unthinkable months ago. Your Federation should be proud of what you've accomplished here, Captain. You've proven that even the most intractable conflicts can be resolved with sufficient will and intelligence. The credit belongs to all of you, Janeway replied. We just showed you it was possible. You did the work of making it real. She looked at her crew, at faces worn by 7 years of impossible challenges, faces that had aged in service to a dream of home. Take us out, Tom. Maximum warp. Let's go home. As Voyager accelerated toward the spatial anomaly, as the combined Jedi-Sith technique began destabilizing the dimensional barriers exactly as the calculations had predicted, Janeway felt a familiar sensation. Reality bending, universes touching, the impossible becoming possible. They'd come to this galaxy by accident. They were leaving it by choice, having proven that cooperation, transparency, and the refusal to accept false dichotomies could change the fate of civilizations. The old Republic galaxy would continue its journey without them. The monitoring network would ensure accountability. The coalition would provide balance. And two ancient enemies would have to learn to coexist or face the consequences. Voyager slipped through the dimensional barrier in a flash of light, carrying her crew toward home and leaving behind a legacy that would echo across the galaxy for generations. They had united a galaxy against the Sith, not through conquest or coercion, but through the simple revolutionary act of showing everyone there was another way. And as the stars of their own galaxy welcomed them back, Captain Janeway knew that no matter what challenges awaited them, they would face them with the same determination that had gotten them through 7 years in the Delta Quadrant and 6 months in the Old Republic. They were Starfleet, they were Voyager, and they never stopped believing in the impossible. May the Force be with you. More stories await.